tormenting me once more.
What's up, folks? We are going to kick it off here. We're going to try and do as many replays as possible. I'm definitely not going to be able to do all of them. And there is a patch tomorrow, which is probably going to break all of the replays, which is going to be a little sad. We're going to try and get through as many of them here, though, just for everybody's, edification. We'll try and, I'm going to jump around and cover a variety of different matchups, just so that there's a little bit of everything that we can show off and talk about. We'll start off here with Wood Elves versus Tzeentch being not a particularly great matchup for the Wood Elves. Tzeentch has a lot of tools to outlast the shooting that the Wood Elves are very reliant on. This is actually a really good matchup for a lot of the Tzeentch's less typically powerful options. What I mean by that is, like, Chaos Warriors tend to be pretty strong here because they just have a ton of armor. Silver Shields, Overshields, everything that can possibly make life a living hell for the Wood Elves to break through. Even basic Marauders are pretty decent here because typically the Marauders of Tzeentch just kind of get run over because they're just like a shitty marked Marauder variant. Compared to all the other ones, the magic damage just isn't usually all that good for these guys. But here against the Wood Elves, who have a lot of units that rely on Phys-Res, they can trade a little bit better here than they would into, just like a lot of other matchups. And of course, they've got their own little bronze shield here. 600 barrier for them is pretty decent. Makes them a little tougher to kill than some other options. No Tzaangors is interesting. This is, if it weren't for the fact that we've got Acold and Village here, I would say this is like a release Tzeentch build, where it's just like an armor wall trying to push down the Wood Elves, but I don't really know why you wouldn't bring Tzaangors in this matchup. Maybe they're in reserve. I didn't get a chance to see what either side has there. Wasn't really paying attention as we were kicking it off here, so we'll just be finding it out as we go. Flock of Doom from the Spellsinger, not a bad choice. Definitely going to help in some of the mobility engagements for the Wood Elves. They'll be able to hammer down some of the units out on the flanks. Like Centaurs are going to be very nice to pop a Flock of Doom on. It'll also be really good for controlling any Furies that might come out. And if you're hitting like multiple infantry units, Flock of Doom becomes quite efficient, which can be really nice. Swift Shiver Shards poking away at some of the Marauders. That's a little painful for the Tzeentch forces. You can see they've taken quite a bit of work. They're losing about a good fourth of their HP, but man, oh man, that blue fire. That was brutal damage, and it killed a lot of models on the Deepwood Scouts, more importantly. I talk about it as much as I can because it's a really important point to emphasize that doing raw damage to missile units is not nearly as important as actually killing models, and it killed 24 models on these Deepwood Scouts. Village got 269 value out of this 6 Winds of Magic spell. That is brutally efficient. That is about as good as it gets in terms of like WOM and return on the cost for it all. Glade Riders coming out now that there's some Furies about to be diving in here. You can see the Dryads taking a lot of frontline engagements, and right here getting absolutely folded up by the Chaos Warriors. This is why Wood Elves tend to struggle a little bit in this matchup, because Dryads are typically a top tier chaff unit. I mean, I call them chaff, but they're, obviously a little better than that. But they're really cheap, 550 gold, and they usually beat up on just about everything that's attacking you on the front line as the Wood Elves, because people don't really want to bring really expensive infantry oftentimes. Lots of factions are going to be like relying on stuff like Orc Boys, or they're going to do like Goblins, and Dryads just like farm value off of units that are a little bit less powerful than them. But here, they just get warrior walled, and one of them is just getting taken apart here. Some of the other Dryads looking to get in on the rear of that fight. Gonna help out a little bit. You can see the Marauders did a pretty good job of holding the Dryads' attention here in the front line. And Tzeentch so far is definitely getting that full court press going and having quite a bit of success. They have been losing their Furies. The Furies are very flimsy. They're very important in this matchup. Gotta use them pretty sparingly, though. One of them already crumbled out. The other one is about to go down. But, oh my god, that beautiful pink fire coming in there. All the colors of the rainbow helping out for Tzeentch. Village with 845 value already. That is actually pretty crazy. And Akold's getting up in here. Akold is not a character that will rack up tremendous value for you quickly. Akold is the kind of character that you bring in to sit on a point and like anchor and maybe beat up on some other enemy characters. Just because of how strong he is, and the perfect vigor is amazing on this guy. He could even go after Orion right about now. That really wouldn't be a bad fight for him. And Orion is in a lot of trouble. He's fighting Chaos Warriors, but he's also fighting the Shrieking Skyrays here. ROR Screamers. Screamers may not be an amazing unit, but the ROR is really nice in this matchup because it has the Lamprey's Bite. It's a fairly short-range ability, which does put it in some danger to counter-shooting. But it does a ton of damage with 32 damage, and a 25-meter radius is actually pretty massive. Most explosion-type spells have a radius of about, like, 15 meters at the upper end. These guys spread their damage out very efficiently. You can, like, drop it on something like a Glade Rider and hit the whole unit and do a ton of damage. You could probably, like, finish off a bunch of the models up here on these very tattered Dryads and the Deepwood Scouts. And even full health units are going to suffer under the weight of the damage that it can throw out. If you target it efficiently. But just with them attacking Orion, they're still getting some pretty respectable work done here. They do cost 950 gold. You'd really like to use all of those abilities before they go out. It's on a pretty short cooldown of 90 seconds for how powerful it is, at least. It does take quite a while to use them all, and they can be a little bit of a challenge at times to get all of these out, but 3 or 4 of them being used is usually going to net you about 300, 400 value with some decent targeting priority. And then you can just use them to do stuff like this and just fight big characters. And Orion's getting absolutely smacked up right now by Akold. Akold didn't have pretty much any value when we last looked at him. And now he's taking Orion down here. Orion does get the Cloak of Isha here. He's having a hard time escaping from this fight, though. Finally able to use his mask to get out of there, but immediately gets locked right back down. And you can see the Stag Knights getting attacked by Chaos Warriors, as well as some Furies here. They just get absolutely surrounded, and they're being pulled apart. Orion dead. Stag Knights on the way out. Glade Riders gone. Deepwood Scouts all killed off, as well as the Dryads. Wood Elves just didn't have any answers to the Tzeentch army here. Not that it's easy, like I said. The magic damage on everything for Tzeentch actually comes into play really nicely for them in this matchup because of the, I mean, Stag Knights, Wild Riders, Dryads, War Dancers, trying to think of some other units. Blade Singers have Fizz Res, so many of the defensive, abilities and passives that the Wood Elves rely on just get totally circumvented by everything being magic damage for Tzeentch. And then that extra little bit of HP from the barrier protecting you on the way in is massive, and I really couldn't tell you how to take this engagement. As the Wood Elves, I think this is one of the better matchups for Tzeentch. They've just got so many tools that they can use to pressure the backline. They've got Chaos Knights, and their Chaos Knights are really good at killing Wild Riders and taking down Stag Knights even. Because Stag Knights only have 60 armor. That's like a fair amount, but not nearly enough to withstand a good charge from some Chaos Knights of Tzeentch. And then you've got Furies, that Fury crumbling out there with 1,500 value. Shrieking Skyrays end up with about 1,200 themselves. And the Warrior Wall is very healthy, and look at the value trading on them so far. One of them is outright paid for itself with almost half its HP left, which is pretty crazy. Zangors and some more Chaos Warriors coming up here. This Chaos Warrior also paying for themselves. The Marauders were the weak link, but that's fine because the damage that they soaked up early on and occupying the Dryads and tiring the Dryads out allowed the Chaos Warriors to just absolutely roll over the Wood Elves on the middle here. I think you just have to play insanely patient as the Wood Elves here. You have to content yourself with scrapping against Tzeentch throughout the entirety of the game. I mean, you basically want to be going for the latest triple cap possible against them. Hit and run, get your Deepwood Scouts forward, get some good volleys off on the Marauders early, pull back with them, try and focus fire down A-Cold and maybe Village as much as you can. I would maybe think about not bringing a Waystalker here, especially not without Arrow of Kurnus. No Arrow of Kurnus on the Waystalker is a huge waste. These guys don't really do a whole bunch of damage with their missile. It honestly doesn't hit very hard. I would really like to see the Waystalker specifically get some armor piercing on this missile. Like maybe split it so it's about 50-50 on the missile strength. And nerf Arrow of Kurnus again. Arrow of Kurnus is like all that you bring a Waystalker for, basically. It's one of the reasons why the Glade Captains don't get picked even, because Glade Captains are just outright a better unit than the Waystalkers, because Glade Captains actually have pretty good melee attack, melee defense, and weapon strength with a lot of AP. The issue is that they don't have that Arrow of Kurnus, which makes just absolute mincemeat out of single entities. Anytime you're going into the Wood Elves, one of the reasons why Arrow of Kurnus is limited so often. I would just cut the Waystalker if you're not going to bring it, honestly. The Spellsinger and Orion was nice. I don't think Orion's a very good call here either, because the problem with Orion is that he is an anti-large combatant who doesn't have a lot of armor. And while Tzeentch may not be going super deep into stuff like blues and pink horrors, they can use them here. Having a pink horror in reserve, just in case your opponent is bringing out like Durthu or Treekin, isn't a bad idea, because you can then summon them up, try and use your Warrior Wall to screen for the horrors while they like roast down some Dryads and Durthu potentially. They do some pretty big damage, since not only do they have flaming attacks, they also, of course, have magic damage, so they get around all the juicy stuff that trees rely on for their defenses. You can see the Centaurs just going absolutely crazy now. There's nothing to stop them. I mean, they're an expensive unit, so they haven't gotten their value back, but they certainly will here. And Orion comes back out again. He's going to get bullied by the numbers. He's holding in here pretty nicely. How much value does he have? 1,600. Really not that good. I mean, Orion's quite expensive. I think he's 1,600 gold with just the cloak here. And he benefits a lot from having some of his other items and abilities. I just don't see him being very good against Tzeentch. I could see it in some other matchups where he's not nearly as hard countered by so many of the units that the Chaos rosters can bring. Keep him on the sidelines. Just bring something cheaper. Just bring a Spellweaver for your Lord option, probably, as the Wood Elves here. I don't need a whole lot else. Where are the Wood Elves? Here they are. Okay. So Spellweaver, you can do like Lore of Life if you want. The life magic is really nice. I don't know how far it's going to take you in that matchup. So maybe you just want to do like Beast Magic or maybe even Lore of Shadows here. Lore of Shadows ain't bad. You can definitely fit Pit of Shades in. It'll be really good for killing some of those armored Chaos Warriors at the very least. Glade Guard aren't a bad idea here. Although they're going to get jumped on by some of the other Tzeentch units and probably killed. Warrior Wall will push them back all the way off the points as well. I don't know. I don't want to spend too much time talking about the ins and outs of an army building matchup that I just don't really have a good grasp on, so I'm going to avoid doing that. I'm also going to go get my food, so hang on, guys. One sec. Alright, just thinking about the matchup while I was gone. I think that the best thing you can do as the Wood Elves is to go for like a Waywatcher core and try and character snipe Tzeentch. If you can do that, you can kill Furies pretty easily since their leadership will be so low without the Lords being on the field. You'll have removed your opponent's like magic, probably. Any other combat characters. And then you can bring out stuff to maybe, like, hammer down the infantry at that point. It's, like, the only thing that comes to mind that would make it doable. Let's see what Daceburg can do against Legatus here. We've got Empire versus Norsca. Good old Balthazar Gelt. Can't go wrong with him. Very powerful character with some great magic. He does not have the staff here. Staff of Valans is really strong because it gives him a ton of Winds of Magic, like, right off the bat. It's one of the highest recharge rates in the game on an item. You can get a Overcast Final Transmutation pretty quickly if you bring it. But Dace is just going to be going with the bare bones Balthy with his spells, you know. Final Transmutation and one backup spell in Searing Doom, which is a pretty good call. Searing Doom does big damage to just about everything. Not amazing against like chariots or single entities, but cavalry, even monsters infantry take a decent amount of damage from it. Definitely good against the infantry corps here. War Wagon's going to be the main focus of the Empire's play here. You have two over on the middle, two out on the number 3. And they're looking to poke down the Marauder Ice Wolf Chariots, which is a really good call. Those Ice Wolf Chariots are actually devastating to the state troopers. Ever since the buff, they've been kind of a nightmare for a lot of chaff factions. I've got a ton of weapon strength, a great charge bonus. They frostbite things as well, which is pretty amazing. They've got some utility in helping you catch enemy units. They cost 900 gold, 90 armor, 70 leadership, and quite a bit of HP. 6100 ain't bad. Soul Crusher getting poked down a little bit. Nothing too terrible. Did use the Enrage. Really, really good use of that ability. That's one of the reasons why Legatus likes this thing, is that it does have the 40% ward save built into this little ability here. 90-second cooldown is pretty decent for how powerful it is. Beasts of Tashnar looking to maybe get up on the number 3. They need to be careful here. The War Wagons do get caught, which is unfortunate for Dace, but they're pretty heavily armored, and they do have the Knights of the Blazing Sun getting up in there, who will easily smash those poor little hounds who are I don't know how long they're going to be making it. Not much longer in this Mortal Coil. You can see them taking a pretty significant chunk of their HP as the Knights of the Blazing Sun charge in here. Now they're surrounded. They're going to be chased off. That's a pretty big loss for the Norskins. It's a 600 gold Hound unit, which is not inexpensive at all. You really want to make a little bit better use out of them. They're good at countercharging stuff. Beasts of Tashnar are not a unit that fights out on the flank alone. They need to be backing up Skinwolves more often than not if you're really going to get some good use out of them. Nice Burning Head, Archers, and Spearmen getting hit by it, but nothing too terrible. Taking about, maybe like 20% of the HP off these guys, which is decent, but they are very functional. They'll definitely be able to get back in here and start to fire away, and they're going to have a lot of good targets. There's a lot of very lightly armored infantry that Legatus has brought in here, and I really like this army from Daceburg. You've got an answer for the big monsters with the war wagons. You've got archers galore, which is a great tool to kill marauders, as well as marauder berserkers, who usually don't have too hard of a time overwhelming the state troopers. I mean, you see this marauder out here fighting the spearmen, brutalizing them pretty thoroughly. You've got the rage building up, and just having that extra little bit of firepower from these guys could definitely help take down the Norscan infantry, which would make it a lot harder for the Soul Crusher and the Skinwolves to get into good fights, just because they won't have nearly as good of room to maneuver on the battlefield. Skinwolves over here, looks like they took down a few war wagons, but they get absolutely hammered by the Empire Knights. Really nice countercharging. And look at the Soul Crusher in here. It's doing some decent work, but it's not getting nearly enough value, in my opinion. 103 kills, 300 value. It's not getting any terror routes in here either right now. We had the Spearmen routing for a moment from terror, but the Halberds and these Spearmen are holding pretty firm. And the Chariot looking pretty beat up as well. Do have the Ice Wolves chasing down some of the Knights of Blazing Sun back here who did get caught. Didn't quite pay for themselves. But with the fact that your Empire heavy cavalry are honestly pretty cheap, I mean, especially the Empire Knights who are 850 gold, the kind of damage that they can throw down for a lot of the Norscan mobility, it's looking pretty decent. As long as you keep these war wagons alive and you're able to take down the Soul Crusher sometime soon here, Norska's infantry is just looking a little too beat up to be able to survive the waves and waves of heavy knights that will be coming out. Some Fimir great weapons waddling out onto the field. Empire holding on to the number 3 just fine. They are losing the middle. Oh, they're barely swinging it back now, actually. I don't know how. What is... Oh, because the archer here has got a decent amount of health, and marauders are pretty beat up too. I think maybe some of these Empire Knights might have been on there. Norska is going to be able to take this middle objective, but they're looking, it's looking a little sketchy for them right now. Losing the Soul Crusher is pretty devastating. It does get a good terror route on the war wagons. It actually kills one of the war wagon models there. But there's 3 fairly healthy ones back here. Again, HP, not necessarily the most important thing for a lot of these missile units. You know, they've lost a ton, but they've still got 3 models, so 75% efficiency on something with so much AP. These war wagons hit like a truck, dude. There's so many dudes in here firing at once, and they're very good at focusing. They've got like 360 shooting on each individual model. So they actually are able to like turn and get like 5 or 6 shots in on one particular unit. And when you've got... How many guys are actually in these war wagons? You got 6 dudes in each, you got 4, so you got 24 guys shooting, and each of them have... Oh my god. Shots per volley 6, you've got 25 AP on each shot. Oh... Shots per volley because it's counting the 6 dudes, not because each guy has the repeater volley gun or whatever it is. It's not the same gun the Outriders have, is what I'm trying to say. It's just a regular old handgun, but they do have more damage than a standard handgun unit. It probably equals out to about the same overall. Especially considering how quickly these guys shoot. I mean, every 6 seconds is a vicious rate of fire. Norsca does look like it's rallying a little bit, despite being down in value. A lot of state troopers are kind of being left to their own devices and getting isolated here. Looks like a beautiful Seafang may have gone down here from Wulfric. Free Company Militia looking very beleaguered right now. And some Marauders, yeah, these Marauders are pretty beat up in their own right. If they close the gap on this Free Company Militia, they should be able to beat them pretty solidly. And they just have way better melee stats. I mean, Free Company Militia are respectable since they're hybrid. But it wouldn't be a very good fight for them. They're just so beat up at this point. Archers are maybe going to be able to peel for those Free Company Militia, and they could rally. Get a little damage. Beautiful Searing Doom here by my Marauders. And the Berserkers looking pretty beat up as well. They really haven't done a whole lot either. A little surprised the Empire's struggling so badly in the late game here. We do have a Great Cannon coming out. It's already gotten some pretty good work done, and the Famir Great Weapons are getting pummeled pretty badly right now. They have done pretty respectably, but the Royal Altar of Graphites, I wouldn't really want to commit them up into this fight. Very lucky that they're able to get the Terror Route off on the Famir and the Beasts of Tashnar. Because they were getting manhandled a little bit in here. They're a very expensive unit. You definitely want to use them a little bit more efficiently. Like, get them out of this fight and try to charge down those Skinwolves on the low ground instead. I'm trying to commit them onto a nice block of Famir and the Beasts. Just leaves them fighting two very powerful anti-large units, where the combined cost between them is about even across the board, and they're not dealing damage nearly as efficiently as the Norscan units are. But they do get the Terror Route, Cannon helping out tremendously as well. Now they're just running down the Skinwolves and the Marauders here. And this, I think, is where the Empire takes the game over. I see so many Norscan units just beat to hell. Not a lot of mobility left. Empire is taking the high ground. Tickets are really close too. Empire still technically has the lead. It's evening out here, and you know, if Norsca were able to hang on to their 2 points, and all things were a little about where they are now, maybe a couple more infantry units on the field, I think then Norsca would be okay. They just don't have anything to help out the Famir, and the Skinwolves have been bullied so far this game. I mean, they've got an okay value. This is the second time this unit's come out, though. I wouldn't be surprised if the other Skinwolves have only gotten 300 or 400 value overall. The Chariots could be pretty devastating here if they're able to charge down the Spears and the Free Company Militia and, you know, all of these Empire state troopers that are coming out now. Knights of the Blazing Sun are going to have a lot to say about that. There's still a handful of the War Wagons. Seeing them just continuing to poke away. Famir Balefane getting shot at. Not really a great target for these War Wagons. They're just not going to do a whole lot to them. Famir have 50% missile resistance, as long as they've got From the Mist active. They've got good enough leadership, they're usually going to have it up. Becomes very hard to kill them. Nice final transmutation here. Brutal damage on Wulfric and on the Famir. Famir do not have spell resist at the very least, so that was a pretty good call. Beast of Tashnar come out again. Oh my god, man. There's a time where a unit just isn't going to be effective despite how well it can uptrade, and I think that with you bringing out 3 Beasts of Tashnar and only getting 1,000 value out of it, I think it's a little bit of a Panic summon from Legatus. It's a lot to be trading down constantly and having such a squishy unit out on the field when what you really need is something to be able to handle the Knights. Regular old Skinwolves just don't win against Knights of the Blazing Sun. They're just too low armored. If the Knights of the Blazing Sun get the charge off, they very quickly outpace the Skinwolves on damage. I think you really need the armored Skinwolves if you're going to be playing into the Empire like this. It's almost always going to give you a little bit of a leg up in the value trade game between the Empire Knights and the Skinwolves. And that's where you run into the biggest problems as Norsca, because you don't really want to bring armored infantry against the Empire oftentimes. So while your Marauders typically beat Empire State Troopers are still cheaper across the board. And with the Knight support, they'll eventually be able to break down your forces trying to lock down the objectives. And you'll end up falling behind then. Gelt's down here getting absolutely railed by these Skinwolves right now. Definitely wouldn't be using him in melee combat. He's just not good at providing any kind of acceptable damage. I mean, on the Pegasus, maybe with the charge bonus, it's okay. I wouldn't risk it, though. Empire's leadership is a little finicky at times. It's decent across the board. Norsca does have a lot of fear-causing units, though. Famir, Skinwolves, obviously the Mammoths, the Ice Wolf Chariots cause fear, and if you lose your Lord and fear is stacking up on you, that's a minus 24 for the initial stage of the leadership debuff. And then as that wears down to the perpetual minus 10 on your units, it ends up being like a minus 18 across the board, and that's going to be really painful for units that have like a base of 60. For a lot of the Empire's units, that they're pretty reliant on this in this matchup. And Norsca can, you know, equal you for the mobility. I would just try and keep Balthazar up in the sky as much as possible. You have no reason to risk him. He'll get plenty of value with the magic. Potentially having him run off the field or get killed outright is losing you way too much momentum, in my opinion. So I just run him to the back of the map when he's out of magic and just leave him there. And don't risk your forces folding up at a really inopportune moment. Dace did a really good job of playing this matchup. Good value on the archers here. You got great value on the war wagons. State troopers didn't do anything. Not really meant to. The halberds were solid. That was about it, though. And the knights were good as well. You had the Knights of the Blazing Sun getting some pretty good damage in. Royal Altar Griffites struggled at one point in the middle of that game. They ended up about paying for themselves, though, and the cannon with 1300. Sunmaker also in reserve. I think that might be too much artillery, especially with the Sunmaker being 1700. I would cut the Sunmaker and cut the Spearman and get 2 more Knights of the Blazing Sun, and you'd probably be set pretty perfectly. Alright, BRB. Food Part 2. I'm gonna go AFK for about 5 minutes while I eat. Sorry for the slow start, guys. I just got back from the gym kind of late. And I literally am not gonna be able to focus if I don't do this, so... BRB. Hang in. Okay, I'm back. So let's just get right back into it. We're gonna check out some Dowie versus High Elf action. On Chateau. Chateau is a very odd map for artillery pieces. I'm a little surprised to see them here. I was just pondering over it. The Goblobber will be okay. I'm a little worried about this cannon and where it's gonna go. There's just a lot of hills on this map, and cannons can be very inaccurate firing over the tops of terrain. It could just be a huge waste of 800 gold. If it's able to focus in on shooting the Sun Dragon and the Star Dragon, though, I guess it'll be fine. Very odd to see dragons here for the High Elves against the Dwarves, but I don't hate it because you do have a L'Oreal. Star of Avalorn is a very powerful heal. I mean, it lasts for ages, and it does a ton of healing. Very quickly get these guys up towards their healing cap if you just pop it on them at a really good point in time and let them sit in the radius. You can actually do some pretty cool stuff with it. Because of the way Star of Avalorn works, you know, I mean, you just target it on the ground, right? You can just land the dragons, and then pop the Star of Avalorn and let them sit, and they can just sit in the healing light of it, away from combat. You don't have to use it when they're engaged in combat. And I would try to not do that so that you can prioritize them getting as much effective HP out of it as possible. Because dragons, when they, dragons have some pretty, herky-jerky attack animations. And Star of Avalorn doesn't have a very big radius, only 15 meters. There are times that a dragon will attack while you're trying to heal it up, and it'll just move out of the radius of the heal itself, which can be a big pain in the ass, because then you have to waddle it all the way back over. Might be getting shot, you might be trying to push through a bunch of enemy units that it now has to contend with. We'll see how Fire Fist is able to use it here. Archers, White Lions, and the Spearmen take the number 3. I actually really like that. It's just getting as far away from the enemy's artillery as possible. No reason to get up in the face of the arty pieces here. I'm a little worried about the Sun Dragon flying so far away from the other steel entities. Do get a Bolt Thrower coming forward. Looks like it's on the single shot right now, killing some Dwarf Warriors. 4 of those guys going down. I would definitely try to get it to be shooting the Iron Drakes, because Iron Drakes go down pretty hard to Bolt Thrower fire. It's very efficient use of the Bolt Thrower ammo as well, since these guys do cost about 900 gold, the Iron Drakes. The Bolt Thrower is 750. And it can usually kill the Iron Drakes completely within, like, I would say 10 volleys. Which is, you know, quite an investment on time. Not as much as some other arty pieces, though. And it's still fairly effective, because you'll have plenty of ammo left with this thing. And you can swap it onto the Scatter Shot and try and poke down some of the Dwarf Warriors and just troll the Dowie that way. Rangers moving in. Looks like they're trying to screen out this Star Dragon. Oh, and the Grim Delver's coming out of stealth. Big damage going down on the Star Dragon. This is a pretty classic error I see people make. Shooting unit comes out of stealth, they get a free volley off, and then you panic, and you're like, oh, I need to attack them. No, you don't. You need to pull out of there completely. The reason for that is that the Grim Delvers are slow. They got 28 foot speed. They are not catching your Star Dragon again. What you should do is just pull both those units out of combat, get them all the way around the field here, and try and jump the Dowie Warriors on the other side now. Because you see your opponents pulled all of their missiles over. You know, the Dowie need to play a very, like, not truly static formation, but a formation that doesn't really break itself apart too often and stays very disciplined in where it's positioned. I know you want to shoot up these dragons, but against a really good player, if they see you pull your missiles out of position on one side of a formation, they're going to use that speed to get around the other side and pummel you. And you can see Illyrian Reavers being built up over here. I do like that choice. We got the archers firing into the Dwarf Warriors here. Earthblood going down. Alarielle needs to get the hell out of here, though. She is not going to do well if she's constantly having to just pop heals while still getting shot to pieces. Banishment going down and getting some pretty good damage in here. I usually would recommend against bringing any kind of offensive magic against the dwarves of that type. 35% resistance to banishment when it costs this much money is not really amazing. But that one, I guess, was acceptable. But god, dude, the Sun Dragons and the Star Dragons are just getting boxed out so badly right now by the Dowie shooting. There's just really no way in, and the breath attacks need to be your big money maker here. You know, they do a lot of damage, but you don't really have any way to like line the dwarves up to be eating the breath attacks in any real meaningful way. It's kind of hard to shoot the front of a unit with the breath attacks and get any decent value. And the Dowie, if you like fly over their dwarf warriors and stuff, and you can get a breath attack down the entire side of it, you can probably take about half the HP off of them. That's not really going to be all that effective, though, because the Dowie melee troops are not really ever a threat. Generally, you want to circumvent the Dowie front line as much as possible and try and get up into the secondary lines to take them down. You gotta do it as carefully as possible, because the Dowie plays so well from a lead that if you're not killing their missiles in a timely manner, and they're able to just like farm value up on you, they will absolutely push you off the entire field, because they're just so efficient with the artillery and with the rangers and Bugman's Rangers, Grim Delvers, Iron Drakes. All of this stuff just pummels mobility so badly. You have to have some kind of an infantry corps fighting the dwarves, or you're not going to win. It's a little counterintuitive that you want to play into the infantry game against the dwarves, but the reason that you do is because you want to bring stuff like White Lions of Trace. And even though White Lions are fairly slow at 33 speed, they're faster than literally all of the dwarf infantry, who have like 28 or less. The only thing that's reasonably quick for the dwarves on the ground is Slayers. And even Slayers are fairly slow, all things considered. I mean, 40 foot speed is better than most infantry, but when you compare a Slayer to something like, what's a good example? Skinks. Skinks have 46 foot speed. You've got Beastmen infantry who all have 42 foot speed. Slayer's sitting here with like no armor and only 40. Starts to look a little bit less powerful and appealing. And you can just see that the dragons are just getting absolutely bullied here. You gotta be more careful with the positioning on these guys. I think you can do a double dragon build against the dwarves, but I think you probably don't want to bring Alarielle on the Eagle to try and make that happen. In fact, you probably just want an Archmage with a Star Dragon backup, and that would be enough. Because the Archmage comes in on the Star Dragon as a mount. And all-in would probably be about as expensive as Alarielle. And you wouldn't get Star of Avalorn, but we haven't really even seen good uses out of that. I think this is just a case of unfamiliarity with the matchup, and you can see the panic coming in from Fire Fist now, causing a lot of lapses in micro. You know, you're trying to, like, spam click Alarielle, like, around the field to still do damage while avoiding a bunch of counterfire in return. And it ends up being a situation where you end up neglecting all your other troops, who, at the point of in this state of the battlefield, are just horrendously outnumbered. Even if they are able to grind down a bunch of the Dowie warriors, just don't have anything killing their missile troops. You can see this missile line is still looking like reasonably healthy. You got a bunch of Iron Drakes back here. You got Thunderers and Thunderers here. A few of the Grim Delvers are still alive. You got a bunch of Bugmans here. Another Iron Drake, kind of getting killed right now, but also the artillery. It's a little too much to ask for the High Elves to be grinding back from that. Very disciplined play from Spida. Very impressive. That's basically how you do it. I would be a little bit careful about pulling all of your missile troops over to shoot at your opponent's dragons, because like I said, if Fire Fist had really clocked it and knew what he was doing, just pulling the dragons onto the other side of the Dowie formation, they could have actually gotten some pretty good damage off there while the Dowie repositioned their missile troops. Give me 1 second, guys.
By bullet, by spear, or by axe. No matter your weapon, use it well, for failure does not warrant second chances.
Alright, let's go, buddy. I love the Jujina. Very cool lord. I don't know how effective it'll be against the Dowie. The Dowie just have a million infantry flooding the field right now. Tons of rangers and miners up in the front line here. The miners are really terrible in melee combat, but Kislev is a fairly elite army oftentimes. It'll take ages for Armored Cossars to get through all of these guys. So honestly, from Hattie, I don't really hate the choice of bringing just a bazillion miners to try and deal with your opponent. Little Groms are going to be pretty effective here. Little Grom is just always good. I mean, yeah, it's an anti-large artillery piece, sure. It's so accurate, and it does so much damage to infantry, though, anyways, that it's honestly not a bad choice here. I don't know if I would go for 2 Little Groms. I would probably just bring 1. And, like, look to use it a little aggressively, like trying to get up on the flanks of Dowie units, fire down the length of their formations. That'd be pretty devastating. What the hell happened here? Oh, double blasting charge hit the Armored Cossars here. Brutal work. Oh my god. Unit took half their HP immediately. Look at the miners here just dunking on the Armored Cossars right now. Beautiful shots from Little Grom in return. But I think Kislev might be a little too thin here. I don't know how successful they're going to be. I like the Horse Archers in theory. I do think a couple can be useful against the Dowie. But leaving them back here to try and hold this point, I think is a waste of time. I would honestly prefer to see them rotate around and try and poke down all of these miners out here on the number 3, because none of these miners have blasting charges. They have no way to defend themselves. The Grim Delvers are coming up. They'd be able to countershoot the Horse Archers, but Horse Archers have better range and the advantage in speed. They could just, like, trundle around out here, doing circles and laps around all of these dwarf units, poking away at them, and it would force the Dowie to spend a lot of time and attention occupied on their home objective. And you could probably, as a result, not even play the middle at all. when you see this many dwarven units, you need to get the hell out of here. Like, I know you didn't see the Rangers right off the rip because they do have stalk, so they kind of crept in under the radar initially. But you could see all of these miners here, and you need to know how much damage your units take from blasting charges, because miners with blasting charges, they did get nerfed a little bit, but they're still one of the best Dowie pieces in the entire game. Just having that free damage, basically, to chip away at stuff that's way more expensive than them, or to clear out chaff units that might otherwise occupy the Dowie front line, is pretty massive. I would have probably liked to have seen the Armored Kossars line up with, like, 2 here, summoning this 3rd one out to go defend that point, and maybe pushing 1 or even 2 up through the trees to get up on that home objective. Because you can pull this Dowie army apart. There's no artillery on the field, so there's no way to, like, punish you rotating around, like, broad sections of the battlefield, which would be pretty gigantic for you as Kislev right now. Using the Griffin Legion out here on the number 3 is a good call. Grimdelvers get a little damage off, but they're a little obstructed by all the miners that are retreating right in front of them. Griffin Legion are able to compromise the Grimdelvers here. Nice win for Suga out here on this flank, but losing so hard in the middle is going to be a big issue. I'm a little scared. We do have Blizzard available. Oh, really good shots from the little Groms. Rangers getting pushed back here. A Blizzard right here, if you can, like, lock down one of these Dowie units in combat and pull the other one in a little bit, an Overcast Blizzard would be doing some wicked damage to the Longbeards right about now. Which should definitely help get you back in this game. You don't want to throw things in the woods forward like this. This is not their shining moment. They take a lot of damage from missiles because they have very low armor values. Their Phys Res is nice, but not an insurmountable amount of resilience. I would just get them out for now until you've developed out some more infantry, and then try to push in. Continue that back pressure. God, man, it's not out of the woods, it's not over for Suga. I mean, it has dragged back a value lead. The little Groms have been pretty heinous so far this game. I mean, pretty decent values up to this point. They were almost about to kill the Dowie Lord, but he does get behind the pillar here. I would just make sure that you, killed the Longbeards. Like, look for shots like this where you can fire down the length of enemy units. Maybe try and position the little Groms a little bit more out on the flanks, just to poke a little bit better. But it's not too big of a deal. You can see a beautiful shot there. I mean, that was like 20 models off of this Dwarf Warrior. And the Thane is also getting killed. The Druzhina has actually been poking him pretty effectively. Druzinas are good melee combatants. He could get up in here and finish off the Thane if he wanted to. He's got a decent amount of melee attack at base. He's exhausted right now, so you can just leave him to replenish his vigor. And then send him up, and he'll probably be able to make that happen for you. Thane getting killed by Little Grom right now, though, which is really awesome. Griffin Legion do take the number 3 here with the help of the Things in the Woods, and just hordes and hordes of Dowie warriors trotting up. Kislev really needs to use the mobility advantage that they have to punish all of that. They've still got the horse archers holding on this back point. I still don't think you need all of them back here. Do you want to leave one, just in case? Fine, but I really would rotate another out onto this number 3 objective, because the Dowie did have the double cap for a lot longer than you've had it, so you really want to be racking it back up so that you get about even with them. You're going to retake the number 3, and the Winged Lancers continuing to play in the middle here has just been a big waste of time for Kislev, because the Winged Lancers are getting shot up pretty badly by all of the Ranger focus fire. They're gonna die, and these Streltsy are gonna be pretty good at shooting down some of these Dwarven units, but they really don't want to get the ground closed on them by Longbeards and just a ton of Longbeards coming out. What the hell is this? God, dude. A Blizzard there would be pretty hilarious right now. As Frostmaiden hasn't even used any magic yet. Suga definitely could be getting her up and forward to look for an opportunity to drop one. I love keeping them on horseback. The horse is only 200 gold, and I think it's really nice to have that extra utility to be able to, like, scream up into a position where you can punish people's bad summoning mistakes. Like, banking up a bunch of supplies and bringing all these Longbeards out isn't a bad idea, but you don't want to bring them all out of the same spot. Because what can happen is, you know, Suga could rock the Little Groms forward a little bit and start hitting one of these Longbeards, and they will absolutely, one cannonball from Little Grom piercing through multiple Longbeards will kill 40 or 50 models at a time. Which would be pretty devastating. And you could easily rack up, you could probably rack up about 1,000 value with just 2 good shots from the Little Groms onto that bunched up Longbeard position there. Still poking away at the Rangers, killing some miners as well. Druzhina has 2 restocks left, so Little Groms are going to have plenty of ammo. Griffin Legion being pushed off of the number 3 here. Kislev is going to be running into cap weight problems heading up into the later stages of this game. And you can see the miners are actually poking the Streltsy pretty effectively right now. One of them being hammered a little bit. Zargard Great Weapons looking to get forward and maybe start to do some damage. Don't need to be wasting ammunition on these miners right about now. You've got stuff to kill them here. The Streltsy, they don't want to be stuck fighting miners for too long, but they will win this engagement pretty decisively. They just have better stats than the miners do. They've got better weapon strength as well. I'm going to chip them down without taking a bunch of casualties. Little Grom really needs to be hitting the other armored infantry higher up here. Griffin Legion taking down one more Ranger before they go out. The Buyer Blood does proc here. They've got 1,700 value. Beautiful performance from them. Any other Kislevite units on the field? Not really. Another thing that you could have done, if your opponent's got like a blob of infantry that he's not looking to spread out, just run one Horse Archer up into those 4 Longbeards and stuff them back off the point. I mean, it's a down trade for you, sure, but it's gonna take a while for the Longbeards to win the fight. I mean, they just don't have very aggressive melee attack stats. I mean, 29, 30 at base is better than, say, like a Dwarf Warrior or a Miner, but they are really just there to use the 48 melee defense to hold the line, so them being stuffed back would be a big problem for the Dowie. You know, the Dwarves can be up in value and still be losing a game because you've got your mobility intercepting a lot of the reinforcements and just keeping them off the front line while you trot out your own replacements to get up quicker. It can become a big issue for the Dwarves. Blizzard here, I don't really like it because it does friendly fire damage, and you don't really want to be wasting that on a Longbeard when you've already got a Zargard Great Weapon fighting those guys. I mean, it's a little extra damage, but you probably did about the same to your own units in return. Again, saving it up for bunched up formations of dwarves that we see trundling up now is really where you want to be using Blizzard. You definitely don't want to hit your own stuff. It's going to be swinging things against you pretty quickly. Little Grom is 1,700 value, this one with 1,100. The Druzhina is up on the point, has one more restock. I don't know where he's been dropping all of them. They really should have just been used on Groms all game. I think they have for the most part. Maybe one of them has been used on one of the Streltsy out here. I don't think so, though. I think they've been firing pretty comfortably for most of this. Dowie making a mistake here. They don't have anything to try and push the Streltsy down. You need to send something with Silver Shield to, like, occupy the attention of these Streltsy, because they're just getting a ton of value firing into the rear. Of all of these armored warriors, they have done a great job so far, just racking up the value, man. 700 here, this one was 640. 850 gold unit. You did see a restock go down from the Druzhina, so I guess he has been prioritizing the Streltsy a little bit. Not terrible. It's fine. You can definitely do it if you want to. Horse archers do get up on the number 3, but it's a little late for them to be trying to go for a cap here. The Dowie do just summon out a ton of warriors and miners, as well as the Grimdelvers coming back out. Looking a lot more supported. I think Kislev just took a little too long and didn't quite juggle the priority on capping points appropriately here. I think that's the biggest issue. Committing a lot of units up into the middle when you're at a huge numbers disadvantage was another problem. Like I said, just push these back points, man. Like, the Dowie are slow as dirt, even though they're closer to their home objective than you are. If they summon a ton of miners out to try and hold their back point, fine, that's okay. I mean, they still have 28 speed, and they're gonna be, like, waddling here for ages, and you can always stuff them back a little bit and do some damage. If they summon out a bunch of Longbeards and Dwarf Warriors, those guys have even longer to go. Aren't necessarily going to be any more effective, and if you have a decent enough mobility core out here on this number 3 point, and your opponent is really swarming you here, your little Groms will probably have worn your enemy out in the middle enough for you to then rotate over and get a decisive strike with whatever infantry you do have over here, plus your mobility getting right up onto the missile line right out the gate. Kislev gets the number 2. They don't have anything from the number 3. Dowie are just too dug in over there. It was really nicely attempted from Suga. Did get a value lead. Oh, what is this? The Druzhina dies here. Oh no, the Thane got him. Wow. Ouch, dude. It's a pretty brutal loss for Kislev. Not the end of the world. Dire Blood is still obviously very powerful. It'll keep their units fighting for a good long while. And they have reasonable base values in a lot of their units. Armored Kossars have 65, which is actually fairly low for a 700 gold unit. They can run into some problems because your opponent, if they kill the Kislevite Lord and they're able to like break the leadership early on the Armored Kossars and proc Dire Blood, you just disengage, let Dire Blood wear out, and then re-attack the unit, and you can immediately rout them off the field. It's usually not that bad, though. Dowie with good value on all of their Rangers. Miners, acceptable. Melee Miners actually looked pretty good. Some of them actually paid for themselves. Honestly, kind of a shocker. I would not have thought that would happen. This Dowie build is hard to break down because of the numbers, but it's honestly not very powerful. There's like no AP here. It's all Quarrelers and Rangers. Some Grimdelvers, I guess, have like the hard-hitting AP. They got a bunch of Longbeards and Dowie Warriors. This is a dwarf build that wants to get up on the points and then just hold you back endlessly. You have to play other points if they're going to be going for a strategy like that. You can't just be funneling yourself up into their strong points, because you'll never be able to clear them all off. Yeah, we're working on getting the replays worked down. We're not going to be able to finish them all today, and there is a patch coming out tomorrow that's probably gonna ruin them. I'd be shocked if it didn't. Really what I want to do is just get as many of replays done as possible, covering as many of the factions as I can. And if people want to make requests, then they definitely should, because, you know, that'll give me a very focused point to work from, so that we can prioritize the folks who are here and who you know, want to learn a little bit firsthand and can maybe give me a little bit of a indication as to what exactly it is that they are either struggling with or what info they might want to, you know, accumulate and retain. We've got Rek here. Rek is a really good Cathay player, so I'm kind of excited to see another one of their builds here. I don't think we saw this one the other day. No. I'm thinking of a tournament or two ago. We've got Wanbo, we got Felix. They're going to be fighting toe-to-toe together. It's a really good call. Wanbo is a very powerful anti-infantry fighter with a ton of AP and pretty reasonable melee attack. With the heals from Felix, they'll be able to last all game. They can chew down a lot of Dawi infantry just sitting on one objective.
All is part of the celestial harmony. If we win, our enemies will flee, and Cathay will endure.
Woo, alright buddy, get on in there. He's got a lot of HP too. 8,400 is pretty ridiculous for a foot character. He does not need to go Dragon Form at any point. Comet Cassandora does a ton of damage, even though the Dawi will resist a decent amount of the damage that it throws down. I mean, it's still pretty obscene. Really, it's the explosive damage that does work against infantry. This range damage, I don't really know what it does exactly. It obviously focuses a lot of effect onto like the main strike area of the missile. But typically speaking, the explosive damage is where you get the majority of the value because it's got a much bigger radius. Not that big, obviously, but more like something like this for the explosive radius. In fact, does it show it on here? God, it's so annoying that some of these don't have the damage broken down by radius very well. That's okay, though. Good value from the Fire Rain rocket right out the gate. It doesn't have Harmony, so it is firing a little slower than it otherwise could be. Still, it should still be fairly accurate, though. I mean, I don't think you get, you don't get accuracy from Harmony. Just the reload skill. You can see piling in there. Killing some Dwarf Warriors ain't bad. It'll probably pay for itself before all is said and done. I would definitely maybe try and hit these bunched up Bugman's Rangers here, though. Because the Fire Raid rockets don't have a ton of AP, actually. Oh, they got a lot of base weapon damage for the explosive radius on the rockets themselves. Trying to hit something like the Bugman's would be a lot more cost-effective for the Fire Raid rocket as well, because Bugman's just cost way more. They're like an 800 gold unit as opposed to Dwarf Warriors who are 450 gold. Even if some of your rockets are hitting the trees, just because they're overlapped, you should still be able to wear them out pretty fast. Dwarves do have a value lead. Oh, they're shooting down all these peasant horsemen back here. Oh, that's unfortunate. We do have a cannon getting in range of the Fire Rains. Maybe going to be able to kill the artillery pieces at a moment here. See one of the cannonballs hitting a tree. Brutal shot. Takes down one of the Fire Rains. Back here, did the Dawi artillery crew survive? They're barely alive. And one peasant horseman is like reasonably healthy. They should be able to kill the Goblobber crew. Should be a pretty nice win for Cathay. And they do have Onyx Crowman going after the gyrocopters here, and a beautiful comet going down on the Thunderers. That's a really good dive. You don't want to just leave your flyers to like chase stuff in the sky if your opponent has something to punish them. So pulling them down to attack the Thunderers after the comet. Pretty beautiful, quite frankly. Very, very, very nice call. And now we got more shooting coming up. We got a Jade crossbow. Oh, this is a regular Celestial Dragon crossbow. Pretty cool unit. I mean, they fire reasonably fast for a crossbow. Every 11 seconds, they're shooting off a volley. Grace of Kuai Yin as an ROR fires even faster, and just look at the damage they're throwing down here. There was a tournament, I think it was the last new player tournament, the one before this current one that we're covering, where Rek brought the Grace of Kuai Yin and some Celestial Dragon crossbows. Didn't really get a whole lot of value out of them because the Dowie just kind of rushed them and shut them down in melee combat. But the inclusion of the Fire Rain Rocket has maybe kept the Dowie a little bit more honest here, and we do see some Crane Gunners and some decent positioning on the Jade Warriors, just allowing Cathay to rack up some respectable damage in the early going right now. I would maybe think about getting one of these Jade Warriors forward to try and shut down the Bugmans, because they are throwing down quite a bit of damage. See one of these Jade Warriors getting hammered right now, locked in combat against a very beleaguered Dwarf Warrior, who do actually break because of the leadership debuff from their own cannon. Nice Comet here again. Really, really, really nice damage, man. Half the HP on a Bugman's is no joke. But they don't lose a lot of models, but now they're under fire from the Grace of Kuai Yin, who are going to be able to really start to chip down the model numbers on these guys. And that's important because Bugman's Rangers do have a heal. The Liquid Fortification is very, very powerful for them. It's what makes Bugman so good at winning ranged trades. A little bit more efficient at out-trading enemy crossbows even than other, just like standard Dowie Rangers because of that heal. With the Bronze Shield, it makes them fairly resilient. Cannon here looking to kill the Crane Gunners. Definitely the right call. You can see taking out quite a few models. 6 models and the Crane Gunners dead already. They do get in range, though, and they get a decent volley off. Actually, not hitting nearly as square as it looked like they would at first glance. We'll see what this Dowie Cannon can do with subsequent shots. Onyx Crowman getting pushed back. Grimdelver's doing the work there. The Gyrocopter core is looking very healthy. I mean, at the very least, Spida has done a great job of preserving the gyros. The problem is, though, is that Cathay is gaining ground just with better trades on a lot of the range tools. But the Grace of Kuai Yin getting hammered by the Goblobber there. This thing's probably got some sick value. 1,300 is no joke. I think it costs about 1,000 gold, maybe even a little less. I think it might be 900. The Goblobber is an amazing catapult. Some of the catapults in the game tend to be a little lackluster, like Goblobbers and some stuff like that. Screaming Skull catapults can be a little bit inconsistent, but the Goblobber being an ROR is uber accurate and has a ton of ammunition. Just getting to pummel away at the missile line back here for Cathay has been great. They're definitely going to get a commendation from the High King after this one, I think. Good volley fire into the Gyrocopters, taking a lot of work. Potentially going to be losing models here. See one of them crashing down here. More shots on the way in. Onyx Crowman also looking to close the gap, and we get another beautiful Comet. What's the value on Wombo? Wow, almost 1,200. And that gets him up to 16. Brutal, brutal Comet, man. God, they've been so nice this game. Peasant Horsemen charging up into the Grimdelvers. Probably going to be broken off the field pretty shortly there. Should be able to get some pretty reasonable value, though. And another Peasant Horseman comes up. And the cannon did go down here. Not 100% sure from what. I wasn't paying attention to it at the time. So the Crane Gunners, even though they did take quite a few casualties, you can see quite a few of them are dead here. 20 models, you know, about 60% of the shooting remaining. They'll be able to poke away at all of the Dowie units moving up. Crane Gunners are so good against the Dwarves because of the Shield Breaker. Not only does Shield Breaker apply to the unit that it's on, it's actually an imbuement onto enemy units. You can see here Shield Breaker affecting these guys, and their missile block chance is being debuffed down to 11% as a result. Which means that the Iron Hail Gunners, the Grace of Kuai Yin, and the Celestial Dragon Crossbows, if they were also firing at that unit, would get the benefits of the Shield Breaker. It's pretty awesome. I really love having something like that, just to hammer down the Dowie from long range, even if it's just one Crane Gunner. It will make a big difference for the damage output of your entire melee, or your entire missile force. Because your melee units are not going to be able to out-trade the Dowie over the course of the game. Like, Jade Warriors are fine as a line holder, but they just never, ever are able to up-trade in melee combat. That's just not really what they're designed to do. What Jade Warriors are supposed to do is be a, like a taking ground unit that then forces your opponent to, like, maneuver around them. Or between them, and then you, like, fill in the gaps, either by shooting pieces, or either using artillery pieces and you're shooting to, like, hammer down whatever's trying to make a breakthrough between the gaps in your formation, or using your cavalry to really hound your opponent into oblivion. Another beautiful comment, man. I mean, Wanbo has been a nightmare this game with it. It's been disgusting value. 2,000 on Wanbo. There's honestly not a lot of characters that can get good value against the dwarves. Wanbo sitting here with 2,000, making me think that perhaps this combo with him and Felix running around is maybe a hard counter to the dwarves, because Dowie can't bring a hero squad into this. Dowie hero squads win because they're more cost effective than other available options. But trying to kill Felix and Wanbo, even if you have, like, 2 Dragon Slayers and, who would be, probably Grombrindle, even if you had all those powerful characters, I think Wanbo and Felix would still win that, head-to-head. The numbers are a little thin for Cathay in terms of infantry, but that's a little bit unavoidable, as I mentioned. Not a lot that they can do about it. I would maybe not just bring all the Peasant Horsemen. Peasant Horsemen and the Jade Lancers, they did okay. They were disruptive. They forced the Dowie to kind of hold back their aggression for quite a while, and then by that time, the ranged trades went so far in Cathay's favor, they were able to just shoot the Dowie back and get the triple cap, and that was it, you know. Really nicely done by Rek. It's not an easy matchup to win. You don't need to watch this one. Oh, that makes sense. It's not bad. Look, you know, bad performances happen, Spider Monkey. It's okay, man. See some Khorne or Tomb Kings. We do have some Khorne in here. On Saturday, we watched a fair amount of Tomb Kings. I don't know how many of those I have left. I've got them sitting in here somewhere, but not a lot to inform about that. Did we already watch this one? I think we may have. We'll come back to it a little later. If I can puzzle it out. See if there's some other Khorne games. Here we go. Legatus versus Piston. Got our boy Wulfric, Metal Mage with Transmutation of Lead and Plague of Rust. Definitely 2 really good spells for the Khorne matchup. You're debuffing the melee attack with Transmutation of Lead. It lasts ages too. 50 seconds is a very long time for a debuff to be active, making it one of the better debuffs in the game. It usually gets... The only reason Transmutation of Lead doesn't get used that often is because Searing Doom and Plague of Rust and Final Transmutation outshine it a little bit. But for a faction like Khorne, where lowering melee attack is actually pretty smart, and they're a little bit more resilient to Searing Doom, I think it could come in handy. Hear Wulfric like mumbling off in the distance. Kind of. Usually you can't hear characters across the map, but the Eternal Challenger clearly very well spoken. Thunderous voice echoing across to Skulltaker over here. He's not unequal to the task of beating Wulfric. He's got solid enough melee attack on his throne to be able to take fights against single entities. He's got good weapon strength as well, and he never loses any melee attack, even as he gets tired. So he should have a leg up fighting Wulfric, not to mention a heal. Gorefeast does give a heal in combat. This guy never breaks because he gets so many buffs to leadership from combat. Revel Slaughter. Totem of Endless Bloodletting is a perpetual one, which is pretty damn good. Nice, like, 2 of the shots hit for the Hellforged Bellowers. A little unfortunate that so many of them ended up cratering into the ground here. Shooting the Horseman, not a terrible idea. Oh my god, immediately with the frickin' rage mechanic. So annoying. I would much prefer to see the Marauder Champions and the Berserkers be the target for the Hellforged Bellowers. Use the Khorne throwing axes to keep the Marauder Horsemen at bay, while the Bellowers just, like, nails these Berserkers. That would be money for Khorne right about now. It looks like they are going to shoot the Marauder Champions. Pretty nice damage here. Killing 11 models. Taking them down. 1,600 health, thereabouts. Pretty decent value from one shot. You gotta be a little careful with this thing. It's very short range. It's 160 meters. It used to have 100, or not 100. It used to have 280, I'm pretty sure. Which is kind of goofy. Now that it's down to 160, you have to play a little bit more. You have to hit and run with it a little bit more. You don't want to just keep it in the in position right here where it's just idling. Your opponent can counterfire it with the Horseman or charge it down with Wulfric and the Mammoth. Definitely try and keep it on the move whenever it is on cooldown, the actual artillery shot. Because you want it to use like all of its ammo before it goes into melee and starts to like regen some health and ammunition. And you want it to be as healthy as possible before all that happens. Yeah, Leggett with really good control and focus fire here. Keeping the Hellforged Bellowers very honest right now. More Marauder Horsemen coming in. Good Plague of Rust. Getting it down to 50 armor. Massive debuff, man. That's why Plague of Rust is so nice. Khorne could charge the Marauder Horsemen here. Marauder Horsemen aren't charging, by the way. They're trying to waddle into range the Hellforged Bellowers, so they're not on guard mode, so they do take a little bit of damage from the Khorne Horsemen, but they pull out pretty fast and they get a really nasty volley off. Khorne throwing axes are really not that good into Norsca. They can get some pretty tremendous value, but usually not in the early game if your opponent went for their own big horse core. Using Furies to, like, threaten dives is much better for screening out the Horsemen. Because the Furies are actually pretty difficult to hit in the air. As long as you're using them to, like, disrupt and, like, threaten dives and then pulling back up into the air before your units end up on the ground, Furies can 100% just keep your opponent totally locked out from their main formation. Look how far apart the Norscan army is right now. Like, you've got this decent infantry corps over here, but they really do need the fire support from the Horsemen. Because even though Berserkers are going to be able to beat a Marauder of Khorne with 44 melee attack will put some pretty horrible damage into a Marauder Berserker. Because the Marauder Berserkers don't really get to a position in terms of survivability that they can outlast a Marauder until they get their Berserk all the way up, you know. They're pretty dependent on it, in fact. More good shots coming in from the Hellforged Bellowers. Khorne's still not really screening amazingly for it. See it laboriously turning around here. Looking to get a shot off. Does get a little bit of damage in here. Vortex is doing some work as all of these units are like running through them. You can see the HP chipping down a little bit. Minotaur's coming over to maybe answer. Okay, so Khorne should really take this opportunity to try and like box out the Shaman Sorcerer right about now. Keep him as far away so that he isn't able to get those damn Plague Arrests off. Very unfortunate for Khorne there. Oh, it's got 200 meter cast range. I always think it's got 100 meters, but you can cast it from a good distance. You don't need to get up into any of these units here. Piston's playing very patiently, doing a great job of holding on to 2 points. Fury's flying overhead. 1,500 gold in the bank. I would try and get another Minotaur out. Minotaurs just body Norscan Ice Wolves. They can kill Marauder Horsemen for days. They can also be a good mass to take down the Soul Crusher if it tries to get too rowdy. Soul Crusher did take a lot of damage. Did the Throwing Axes do that? Wow, the Throwing Axes might have actually hammered the Soul Crusher there. They've gotten pretty good value up to this point, actually. Nice shots. Once again, the Hellforge Bellowers getting some pretty respectable damage in. Not nearly as efficient shooting the Horsemen, though. Obviously, like I said, the Infantry are where it really shines. Look at the Javelins poking this thing down now. Oh my god, it's trying to get into melee combat. Struggling a little bit to do so. It's just not that quick. It'd be much better to have it down here, charging through the infantry. And potentially even double teaming the Soul Crusher with Skull Taker. Because Skull Taker is going to give this thing another 12 leadership with Totem and Revel in Slaughter. Oh, and he gets the, he also encourages. So it would get another 4 from that. And it's actually a pretty respectable fighter in melee combat itself with 50 base melee attack. You can 100% take the fight against the Soul Crusher with Wulfric and the Hellforge Bellowers. I mean, it'd be really nice for your infantry. And you can see some of the infantry getting absolutely flattened right now. Soul Crusher with 277 value, ain't bad. And now Skull Taker is in a 2v1. Not great for him, but if he can find a way to maybe squeeze his way out of here and get back on top of the Bloodwake Berserkers, that would be a huge win for Khorne, because Norse doesn't really have a great answer for the Bloodwake Berserkers right now. The Mammoth is the best bet. See, actually, maybe it's the perfect answer. It's kind of trampling over these guys. My god, dude. Please, CA, fix that frickin' bug. It's so obnoxious. It's so loud. It's louder than all the other sound effects, too, which is the worst part about it. But Minotaur's moving over and get on top of the Fimir, sure, but they're also fighting the champions and Wulfric. They're not going to win that fight. It's a bad trade for them. Definitely need to get to the high ground here and sit with the infantry. If they do that all game, then they should be pretty set. Our champions pushing through down here. The Marauders of Khorne have been getting folded up by the terror routes by the Soul Crusher. With 733 value, pretty respectable. Marauder Berserker is actually doing pretty great here. Done a pretty good job of pushing up through the Marauders, in fact. I got some Forsaken coming in now. Not getting the charge off. They get stopped right before they get the charge animations. Minotaur's coming over for the Soul Crusher now. These Forsaken taking horrible damage from it in the process, though. These Mammoths are pretty devastating. They've got really good collision damage, which is kind of like the gold standard, I would say, for single entities nowadays. Most single entities that don't have collision attacks are pretty bad. And Norscan Mammoths are a little bit on the weaker end of the spectrum when it comes to their damage output with collision attacks, but they do have 14,000 HP, so they're pretty tough to take down. You can see here, they're actually able to help rout the Forsaken, and the Minotaurs stand alone against the Berserkers and the Soul Crusher here. Marauders rallying over to the Skull Taker, trying to help him out. He's holding okay. He gets a really solid blow in against Wulfric. That Slayer Sword is crazy, man. I mean, a 50% increase to the weapon strength of Skull Taker gets him up over 750. And if he gets Hellblade active at the same time as well, he can get up to a 1,000 weapon strength if he uses all of his buffs, like Locust of Fury and the Slayer Sword and Hellblade going off at once. It's pretty wild. It's cool to see. I mean, I love Skull Taker. He may be a little overtuned. Although, I've seen plenty of people take him down before he value trades, and that's kind of what's happening here. He's a really good support piece. Khorne has been playing a little too loosey-goosey with the infantry engagements. I think massively overestimating the value that the Khorne Marauders are going to provide. Because I did say that while they can do some pretty respectable damage to Marauder Berserkers, the issue is that they don't kill the Marauder Berserkers outright. And by the time the Berserkers are done with the combat, they'll have charged up their Berserk all the way to like the critical point at which they're just an absolute nightmare every time they get into a combat. Because they'll have buffed up their melee attack. They'll have all of the physical resistance in the world. 20% Phys Res is pretty fat. Really nice to have, even for a beat-up infantry unit in the late game. Soul Crusher running after the Bloodwake Berserkers and pummeling them pretty good here. Look, I mean, this game here is a pretty prime example of why Khorne is strong, but not an insurmountable, like, obstacle. There's plenty of things you can do to work around their strong units. I mean, the Bloodwake Berserkers did really well here. But they get hit by a Plague of Rust, an upgraded one, and the Horsemen are on the flank. Gonna start pulling these guys down in a moment here. So you can do stuff like that to handle stuff with the Bloodwake Berserkers. You can also just bring tons of kite and shooting and just make sure that Khorne never really gets in on them. Because even if these guys, you know, only, like, just pay for themselves, Horsemen getting unsummoned and allowing you to bring out more answers for the Khorne infantry or mobility is pretty gigantic. And it's just a stomp at this point. Leggett did a really good job of pulling Piston's army apart. There's no shame in this for Piston. This is a pretty tough matchup for Khorne. There's a lot of things that Norsca can bring to counter some of your really strong units. So you gotta play it very patiently. If you're gonna win this on a regular occasion. Hellforge Bellower is still firing away. Really not doing all that much damage, though. Again, it's just better at shooting infantry, and it should be shooting all these Marauder champions, because you brought up all these Marauders. The Marauders can buffer out the Horsemen and even the Skinwolves, but they just aren't going to win the trades in the front line fight. So the priority on how you're using these units is a little bit off Piston. Hellforge Bellowers should have easily gotten 2,000 value just shooting at your opponent's Marauder champions and Berserkers in the early game. Nice point-blank shot there. Big damage going down. Wearing out the HP pretty nicely on all of these champions. That little Hellraiser Vortex that it drops here. Also doing some respectable work. It's just trolling through everything. Khorne trying to make something happen in the late game, but Norsca just pouring more and more units out. Getting a full surround. That's going to be it. It's a good effort. You know, getting put on the back foot early, though, against Norsca is never really a good spot to be in. Yeah, the Marauders were fine. They did kind of get bulldozed, though, here. That's rough, man. I would love to see this Exalted Bloodletter come out early. I like the Forsaken. I don't like Khorngors against Norsca. Khorngors are not that good, guys. They're an okay unit. If Korngors are backed up by mass and they catch a large target inside the unit, they'll rip it apart in seconds and look really good in the process and get you a ton of value. People who know how to play around Korngors just shoot these guys to death and they never get to do anything. And they're also very vulnerable to terror routing before their unbreakable ability procs. It happens all the time. It's really annoying too. You've got to basically babysit them if you're going to use Korngors. I would much prefer to see a couple of Furies instead. Okay. Wow, how many times did Piston play Granite Cathay? That's kind of crazy. Let's watch a little bit more Khorne action. Let's see if Piston's able to beat Havern here. On Bordalo Landing, we got double firing rocket. We've got a very similar build to what we saw last time. The Bloodwake Berserkers with Bloodletter. Some other units out here, the Marauders, Valkia, Hellforge Bellowers. You're going to be trying to pick apart this Grand Cathay army. Hellforge Bellowers is actually really good at shooting flyers. Especially stuff like Onyx Crowman. It would do pretty devastating damage to these guys. I would actually try and shoot them first. Because if you can win and kill the Onyx Crowman early as Khorne, and you can bring your Furies out safely at that point, you can probably take these Fire Rain rockets down with one good dive. I would love to see that here. You also got the Horsemen. Horsemen can get up in the trees if they wanted to. Just hide away. And if Cathay tries to use their Crowman to, like, draw your Marauder Horsemen out into the open, that's fine. You just retreat and bring your Furies out to help. You don't want to fight the Onyx Crowman in the forest because your guys don't have Strider. They'll lose a bunch of melee attack. They'll lose speed as well, so if fight starts to go against them, they will lose. Onyx Crowman, being infantry size, don't struggle in trees, obviously. If your opponent brings artillery pieces like the Fire Rain rocket, what you want to do is space your units out as far as possible so very little collateral damage happens. And just have one infantry unit go up on the point. Just have the Bloodwake Berserkers sit behind the pillar here. It's going to be pretty difficult for the Fire Rains to hit them if they're behind the pillar. You'll cap the point up, you'll start getting a little bit of a lead, and then maybe you can even like rotate the Marauders around the field somewhat. You don't have to just like force yourself to fight onto the middle objective all game. Good shot from the Hellforge Bellower, nailing the Shugengan Lord there. The Yen Shugengan Lord is like a fairly respectable combatant. 55 melee attack is pretty solid for a caster lord. But they don't have a way to heal themselves, and with only 5,500 HP, you do need to be pretty careful of them. So I do like Khorne being aggressive and trying to hit them early on. That Iron Hell got absolutely wrecked by the Hellforge Bellowers here, which has done much better this game than it was last time around. It's done a great job of really pressing the infantry down early on. They does have a lead. Fire Rain rockets getting some great damage off. This is another reason why you want to try and avoid retreating from artillery pieces. Because they'll close the gap, they'll have taken more ground for their forces to have pushed up, and then you have to run all the way through their field of fire again. After you've already probably taken damage from them. So I would definitely be a little bit more aware of that next time from Piston. Just spread these units out, like just click them so that they've got nice spacing between them all. So there's a lot of collateral damage being done here by these things. And it's forcing a much riskier dive out of Piston than really is necessary. If you don't take all this damage on these Marauders, right, just because they're all bunched together, You don't need to just, like, throw your Furies in here quite the same way. Another thing that I'm seeing, you've got both Furies diving into the front of the artillery piece, which is a big mistake. Do that with one Fury and have the other one fly over the top and get the rear charge off, and you'll absolutely annihilate the crew, because when you attack the front of an artillery piece, they try to attack the dudes actually manning the artillery itself, right? They're not trying to push through and get on the back row. If you've got a unit charging from the rear, though, the first thing that rear charging Fury is going to do is kill all of the reserves on the artillery piece, which would be a big win. Even if, even if you aren't able to kill the Fire Rain rocket, if you've got your Furies like diving in tandem together like that, at the very least, they're a little bit better spread out so that your opponent can't kill them quite as quickly. Because if you got both your Furies, like, blobbed up on the front side of a cannon, all your opponent really needs is, like, 2 units to countercharge, and they'll crush the Furies. Maybe even 1, depending on if it's something like a Jade Lancer or a Peasant Horseman. Bloodwake Berserkers getting in on the Alchemist. Alchemist is on the horse, but did run themselves into the Bloodwake Berserkers here, and is fairly surrounded. Bloodwake Berserkers have pretty good mass. They got 400 each, making it pretty difficult for horse characters to escape out of these very scary elite Khorne infantry. Very odd Searing Doom choice. I would literally always be trying to cast it to free up your caster instead. Searing Doom is fairly disruptive to infantry. It knocks a lot of models over and just scatters them everywhere. You could probably push your caster out of that fight at that point. Valkia did find the Shugengan Lord. She's going to beat the living hell out of this poor character. And Cathay just kind of calls it here. They had a couple of Fire Rain rockets left on the line. Wait, are they all broken over here? No way. Oh, the Furies broke all the artillery pieces there. Oh, and it broke 3 over here. Brutal stuff, dude. Oh, they couldn't save the cannon models themselves. Yeah, that's kind of a conceit at that point. There's not really any way that you're going to be able to grind back into it as Cathay if your artillery is dying that early. Would you have Bloodwakes in the starting army or as a reinforcement? They are a significant investment. It's $33.50. Yeah, $33.50 in total for both those units. So that's a third of your army value. Truth be told, I don't love the Bloodwake Berserkers all that much. I definitely think that there are matchups that they're just an absolute beast mode unit in. Against Cathay, I don't actually think they're nearly as good as just bringing a bunch of Bloodletters, honestly. Like, I would keep the Hellforged Bellowers, that's fine. I would consider cutting the Bloodwake Berserkers and getting 2 more Bloodletters. Because you can push your opponent down pretty aggressively at that point. Bloodletters eat Jade Warriors for breakfast, by the way. Absolutely raffle stomp them. Cathay just has a lot of shooting that can kill the Bloodwakes. If you can kill all that shooting, then Cathay is just never going to be able to kill these guys, I guess. So maybe you can bring them in reserve. There is a lot of infantry in reserve. This is a matchup where 1 Khorne Gore can be pretty good. But maybe you cut 1 Khorne Gore, cut the Exalted Bloodletter. Probably cut both the Forsaken. And you get the Bloodwake Berserkers and just as many Bloodletters as you can fit in. And everything else can stay the same. Minotaur's nice, very powerful unit. Definitely can get a lot of value for you, and Cathay, it doesn't really have great ways of killing Minos outside of the shooting. One Minotaur should be able to take down like all the Jade Lancers in the world that you need him to. It can even beat up on the Jade Lion and the Celestial Lion if it comes in. So, I don't mind that at all. I think it's a pretty good army selection for the most part. Give me like 2 minutes, guys, and we'll kick it right back off. Alright, I'm back. We got Norsca into Cathay here. This is not a matchup that I've seen very often. Cathay is a very niche faction. This is actually the most Cathay I've ever seen in a tournament. We had 3 people playing them in this new player tournament. That is not something that you'll see very often. It's really cool, though. I mean, they're not terrible. They're just definitely on the weaker end of the faction spectrum right now. Norsca, I would say, is a pretty strong faction, generally speaking.
We have a victory point. Keep it from the foe.
The thing with Norsca is that they are pretty micro-dependent, so they tend to be a little bit less commonly seen. Plus, they haven't gotten updated in forever, so, you know, lots of people just don't play them very often. There's so many other cool factions in the game, they kind of get forgotten about at times. It's really cool to see Legatus repping them so commonly. And Bostos is back as well, who was the other Norsca main, who was kind of carrying them for a long time. We got Bandits of the Silver Road with their extra fire damage. They can be flammable. Also have a pretty decent amount of ammo. Oh, I think we did actually watch this one the other day. You're going to see a pretty good takedown of a missile line at the very least. This is a big mistake. you've got to know what kind of spells and items your opponent has, because you can see it here. Seafang just gets summoned out and just one-shots a Jade Warrior and a Bandit of the Silver Road here. Stagger that missile formation. Pretty please. It makes a big difference for you. Instead of having both these units running away right now, it would only be one. You can maybe countershoot the Soul Crusher a little better. You can see the Marauders struggling under the weight of fire here. Cathay has done a pretty decent job of protecting some of their missile units, but the Chariots getting up into the back line is pretty catastrophic, and the Soul Crusher continuing to help push through as well. You know, just like popping that Enrage whenever that's available for it. Trampling over all the infantry, causing a lot of terror routes. You can see 2 units terror routing here. Really nice Pendulum. Love me some Shadows magic with some Pendulum. 600 value on the Famir already. It's pretty damn impressive, and Wolfric's probably got a similar amount. Yeah, 700, and they haven't even engaged in combat, really. Looks like they're going to be pulling out now. Definitely want to look for some opportunities to maybe attack Zhao Ming up in the... not up in the sky, but when he lands from flying around up here. You can engage him before he gets back up there. Good Dragon Breath on a heavily armored Marauder unit, though. Marauder champions are a little... they can be a little hard to identify at times. Because they've got the exact same banner as a regular Marauder Great Weapon. They really don't look too terribly dissimilar until you get all the way down in. Like, if you're hovering about, like, right here, you literally can't tell the difference between the 2 units. These guys have 80 armor, so Dragon Breath is really not that effective against them. It still does okay damage, but it has no armor piercing. You'd much rather use your Dragon Breath on this Marauder Great Weapon over here. Because if you do that, you'll absolutely dumpster those guys. It would not one-shot the unit, but it would take about a third of their HP out. And if you get the Alchemists, or Astromancers, and have that Mastery of the Elemental Winds boosting up the spell damage, you can actually just devastate unarmored infantry by using Dragon Breath. It's really disgusting at that point. There is a way to buff Dragon Breath up to the, a level where it's hitting a Marauder unit and quite literally wiping 2/3 of the HP off of them in one go. It's pretty ridiculous. And I think that playstyle would be pretty good against Norsca, because Norsca does love to bring their standard Marauders. They're one of the better variants. They're only 25 gold more than the Chaos Warriors of Chaos Marauders, and they get Rage, which is a huge boost to Marauders' prowess, because it gives them Phys Res, 10% physical resistance, 8 leadership, and 5 melee attack once it's fully charged. It doesn't take that long to charge up. I think it's 2 minutes in combat, which is pretty doable for a Marauder. You know, we're about 5 minutes into this game, and they've been fighting the entire time, and fully charged it up here, as you can see. They do break because they've got just a lot attacking them right now. Skinwolf's looking to move in. The Soul Crusher is continuing to pummel Zhao Ming with Wolfric and the Famir nearby. Definitely want to get them in here. Make sure they're helping to finish off this big scary Lord, and then it would be cleanup for Norsca the rest of the game. They kind of already are in that phase. There's just not enough shooting to kill the Soul Crusher at this point. You got the Bandits of the Silver Road who have rallied, as well as 1 Peasant Archer, but they don't have enough AP. Like, only 1 armor piercing on these guys, it's not bad. It can definitely rack up significant amounts of value for how cheap they are. The problem is the Soul Crusher having 14,000 health. I mean, 1 damage from 1 archer times 120. It's going to be most of the ammunition used by all of the archers available before this thing would even be dead, right? It's a little too much to ask of them. They are not attuned to kill a big beastie like this. A crane gunner would be really good to kill the Soul Crusher with. And I'm a little surprised. I'm always surprised that people just don't bring crane gunners as Cathay. That's like the absolute best unit for them. Crane gunners do a ton of damage. They're very long range. They're easily supported by the Cathay mobility. Cathay actually has quite a bit of mobility. They can bring a ton of Jade Lancers, Peasants, and Onyx Crowmen. You can go for 0 infantry builds as Cathay pretty feasibly. What I mean by 0 infantry is like 0 Peasant Long Spears or Jade Warriors or Celestial Dragons. You can just go all missiles and all cavalry and Onyx Crowmen and win plenty of games that way. Soul Crusher's sitting in here, continuing to fight. It's basically on death's bed, and it's still got 2,800 HP, and it's just running over these poor Onyx Crowmen. You get a nice pendulum there. Hitting this one Crowman out here on the flank that was trying to attack the Balefeed, and then the Northern Ice Wolves immediately get in on these guys and just put them down. Rip Crowman, man. They're a cool unit. Onyx Crowmen for Cathay are awesome. They can do a lot of damage, but they are mostly there to help facilitate harmony for your forces. Because the Onyx Crowmen give Yin harmony, which is, you know, obviously the counterpoint to melee units. So, Peasant Horsemen, Jade Lancers, Jade Warriors, they all really love to have Crowmen near them. So, the Crowmen aren't really used to push, like, aggressively into your opponent's backline. You use them a little more defensively, where you try to get the Crowmen into a fight supporting one of the other melee units that you've got available, so that your cavalry or your infantry do better damage because of the harmony effects, and the Onyx Crowmen just provide a little extra DPS and defensiveness. It's not really even bad value from the Cathay army. It's just that the Soul Crusher, Wulfric, and the Famir were so cost effective, as well as this Chariot was very disruptive too. Skin Wolves, I mentioned it when we watched this game the other day on Saturday. You gotta be a little bit more careful with them. You don't want to throw them in and just watch them get shredded by stuff that circumvents their physical resistance. They're very dependent on it. You know, Regen is a nice heal, but it only heals so much at once. You know, on 7,000 HP, it's really not doing all that much healing in a burst. Being able to constantly engage and disengage at will is where Norsca really thrives. Yeah, we saw this one. I'm curious about this Empire versus Dowie game. I'm gonna go get myself some water, and I'll be back and we can kick it off. Alright, we're going to get up in this one. I don't see this being a winning game for the Empire. It's already a really tough matchup for the Empire overall. They just got so many lightly armored infantry units that they rely on as their front line that Dowie Warriors actually do get pretty decent value into the Empire. Boris is also... I'm going to talk about it piece by piece. Let's just get in here and we'll start to break it down. So here's the big problem. Empire State Troopers just don't have that much armor, and they don't have the stats to break through the Dowie infantry. Dwarf Warriors have 40 melee defense. Definitely more than enough to survive the 32 melee attack that swordsmen throw out. It's a wet noodle contest, but at the end of the day, the Dowie Warriors, even if they're not hitting all that often, are going to be doing more damage because the 30 armor is just doing nothing for the Empire State Troopers. You've also got the Dowie going stupidly wide with stuff like Rangers and Miners. Miners with blasting charges can quite literally almost one-shot a swordsman. You don't want to watch that happen. Boris is a good lord in a lot of matchups, but against the dwarves I don't see him being very effective because he is kind of geared for causing like terror routes on low leadership units. Dowie have pretty good leadership across the board. Getting the terror routes is going to be a lot more trouble than it's worth. I genuinely think that the best option for the Empire here is the Master Engineer on the Steam Tank, which is a really cool lord. Costs an arm and a leg. I think he's 2,900 with just pigeon bombs mounted on the Steam Tank, but I think he's more than worth the price because the Steam Tank mount just mulches Dowie infantry, and the Steam Tank has a directional shield, which is amazing against small arms. It's 70% block chance from the front against the Steam Tank. And you can just, like, literally ride through the entire Dowie army with the Steam Tank. It's pretty hilarious. War Wagons aren't a bad unit against the Dowie because they obviously have AP missiles, but you don't want to let them get counter-fired at all. See them starting to take some pretty serious damage. Another thing that they're really effective against, probably what you want them for the most, is shooting gyrocopters and the gyro bombers. War Wagons are very accurate against single entities, so they will absolutely hammer those out of the sky. Free Company Militia ain't bad, not an amazing unit against the dwarves. They don't really shine in any real meaningful way. At the very least, though, they outrange stuff like Miners, so you can, like, focus fire with them. Chip down a lot of Dowie units. Utilize all that ammo, and you'll get respectable value out of those guys. Do you get a Pit of Shades? Not super powerful. It's being used on Miners, which is fine. I mean, you're breaking down cap weight, sure, but over the course of a long grind, it's just, you're not going to be able to use it nearly often enough, and the Dowie are not going to be bunching up enough for it to get devastating damage done. It's not going to facilitate any breakthroughs into the back line. You can bring it, but I would recommend bringing a Life Caster with the Master Engineer, because the Steam Tank can be healed. It's a little silly, you know, if you think about it from a logical perspective, but this is fantasy, goddammit. I'm not going to have any arguments about it. The Life Caster and the Steam Tank Engineer Lord are just vicious. The Dowie only have artillery to answer that guy. And then the Empire can use their Empire Knights to like try and dive up into the backline to kill the cannon crews. And I think that's much better. Another thing that you really want to bring is great swords. You don't want to bring too many of them. I do think that probably like 3 great swords in your starting army is a pretty good core of armor-piercing infantry. They get a bonus of 14 against infantry-sized units, which is enough to kill multiple Dowie warriors usually. Great swords, generally speaking, get worn out before they uptrade. But they only cost, what, 850 gold nowadays, which is very respectable. They just get the job done. They help kill Dowie warriors and potentially put the Dowie on the back foot, and then you can bring in other units to like kind of clean everything else up. Boris and some of the war wagons doing what they really should have been doing from the start, which is poking away at a lot of the reinforcing pieces. See these war wagons running down the Grim Delvers is a huge win right now, and Boris is brutalizing this Iron Drake, which would love nothing more than to get up here and try to kill all of the state troopers that are in the front line now. Slayer's going to be fighting against spearmen and swordsmen here. Empire does not have the number 1, nor do they have the number 2, and they're losing the number 2 really badly right now. Yeah, I mean, you can just see the state troopers not doing anything. You just don't bring spearmen into the dwarves. Like, holding against the Dowie infantry is absolutely pointless because the Dowie want you to be in melee combat with them. Not because they'll win really hard in melee combat, because their missile units will. Their missile units are great at poking down enemies that are, like, stuck on dwarf warriors. That's absolutely, like, peak efficiency for something like a ranger. Knights of the Black Rose, with their heavy armor and good stats, are pummeling a lot of dwarves, but man oh man are they just not going to be able to get through them all. A little outnumbered here, surrounded, being poked by miners, and the miners have gotten okay value here. We've got the Sunmaker, yes! Sunmaker is another really good tool against the dwarves. Look at the damage that it just threw down. Slayer's dying in droves to the rocket fire from the Sunmaker right about now. More shots on the way in. That volley a little inaccurate, but still gets some pretty respectable damage dealt. Almost 1,000 value, 1,100 value on this thing already. It's still got a majority of its ammunition left. You can see how devastating it can be against the dwarves. This could be a way for the Empire to get back in this game. I mean, it's killing and doing a ton of collateral damage to these Slayers here. We got the mortars plinking away. They've got 930 value also. I'm kind of liking this. The Empire is on the upswing here. Oh, but Boris, though, uh-oh. Boris is being pushed back. That's a big loss, man. I mean, this is why I don't really love him. I guess if you're going for it, although I guess I would really say still the Master Engineer is better for these artillery builds. Because you can do the Sunmaker and you can bring the Master Engineer on the steam tank, and Master Engineer has restocked, so you can give ammunition back to the Sunmaker, which is pretty amazing. I had a game a while back against a really, really strong Dowie player, and they just brought like 1,000,000 Dowie, and I brought the Sunmaker and the Lord in my starting army, and I had like 4 other units. But because of the restocks, the Sunmaker got close to 4,000 value. He had like 500 kills. The Master Engineer wasn't too far behind that either. And I was able to win the game fairly easily as a result. So that's why I recommend them. Dowie getting some good shots at the Iron Drakes. Flamethrower Iron Drakes did some pretty decent damage to the War Wagons as well. Fairly impressed with that, but really it was the Iron Drakes here. They got 1,400. I imagine some of that's on like Boris, maybe some of the cavalry that's been running around in the back line. Empire Knights go down. The Knights of the Black Rose also have gone down now. And while the Empire's done a ton of damage on the #1 objective, they haven't capped it yet, which is a big problem. They really need another point soon. Because the Dowie could very quickly get into a late game position where all they need to do is bunker up on 1 point, and The Empire are going to have a devil of a time against the Dowie at that stage. You've done a lot of damage here. You're wasting a good bit of ammo, though. I would probably just save the last volley on the Sunmaker. Oh, okay, perfect. Actually doing exactly this. Not a bad idea at all. And look at the great swords, man. These great swords with almost over 1,000 value now. They've been great so far. Awesome stuff. 180 kills on them. Here you go. The Sunmaker's going to do some pretty serious damage to the Dwarf Warriors, I think. Actually missing a little bit, unfortunately. There's 3 Dwarf Warriors, like, kind of stuck up in here, but Sunmaker is not getting very accurate shots. That last one definitely got some pretty decent work in. Damn, dude, the Sunmaker was super valuable this game. 2,400 value, 328 kills. We got Boris actually running the Lord off the field now. Able to snipe down the Dowie Lord ain't bad at all. Oh, but the Iron Drake's getting a nice volley in on Boris. Avoids a lot of the shots. Really needs to get Boris up in the air and just run him away. You could have this Free Company militia just chase down the Dwarf Lord, but it looks like Boris got his kill. Ew. Oh no. Yeah, Dowie thighs for dinner there. Another Knight of the Black Rose coming up. Finds the Skolder Guard and is massacring them right now. Yeah, I mean, armor is great and all, but if your stats are so bad that your opponent is just hitting you every time they're swinging, especially on a low model count unit like the Skolder Guard, it's almost pointless having the 125 here. And I think the Black Rose do have good AP anyways. Like 12 is about in line with like a Fury or something, and these guys do have pretty good melee attack, so against the Dwarven Fury and heavy armor, you're still showing that they can get some good value. Boris gets nailed by the Iron Drakes. Oh man, those torpedoes have been brutal this game. 1950 value on these guys.
I have a kink in my ass. Enough of these fell magic.
Yeah, get them. Oh, a lot of those shots hitting the tree. Little unfortunate for the Dowie, but Boris is probably breathing a sigh of relief. He could have been dead there. He needs to get up in the air, man. I just need to see the Empire rotate their very beat-up Lord away. You just don't want to lose him. Because if you lose Boris and try to resummon him, you're waiting for ages. He costs about 2,000 gold with a very pared-down kit like he's got here. Usually not worth saving that much money up. You'd be better off getting out more units, oftentimes. I would hate to see Dace kind of fumble this game away. It looks pretty good for the Empire, truthfully. They've got Knights of the Black Rose continuing to stuff up a bunch of dwarves over here. Got Longbeards being held back. All these miners and some dwarf warriors coming up. Handguns chilling. Sterling's Revenge coming out. And over here we got Empire Knights with a Spearman and a Swordsman who will be able to hold down the number 3 here. Dowie do get the number 2. You're killing a lot of Empire State troops up here, mostly Spearmen though. Man, the Iron Drakes have been... It's been kind of cool to see them getting pretty good value. I mean, there's only 11 of these guys left, and they only have 300 HP. A stiff breeze blowing into them will probably kill that Iron Drake. Knights of the Black Rose continuing to stuff back the dwarves. Empire actually does need a triple cap. Uh-oh. Oh no, the Empire Knights getting nailed by the Iron Drakes. Trollhammer torpedoes are devastating to cavalry, man. I mean, they do so much damage to them. They do get compromised. We do have the Empire looking to press them down with some swordsmen. I would just have the spear sit like right off the edge of the point and keep the Dowie from putting anything on the objective. while you work on getting the number 2 back. The Empire does have numbers going to the high ground, but they have a problem on the number 1 objective here. Because the Dow are pushing this pretty efficiently right now. Sigmar's Sons being unbreakable and holding back miners, longbeards. Wow, 2 miners, 1 longbeard, and a dwarf warrior looking to kind of waddle their way around. Focus fire the miners right now. And get the Sterling's Revenge out of here. Oh my god, no! Bro. Oh, the humanity. You can't let blasting charges do that kind of stuff.
You have the foe's victory.
Blasting charges are just so effective against state troopers. You can never let them get a free volley off like that. Sunmaker comes back out and is probably going to get another 2400 value. I mean, it's already killed another like 40 models on a lot of these Dowie troops. And you've got the armor-piercing shots coming in from the Sterlings, as well as the handguns and more Sunmaker volleys. Working down the Dowie formation here pretty efficiently. Very fortunate collateral on that miner, in fact. What does the Empire need to do here? Yeah, just stuff, man. This is a great game from Daceberg. This isn't a super meta Empire army against the dwarves, in my opinion. I think that you could definitely bring a few other things that'd be a little bit more effective, but very well played with the majority of the units. I mean, you know, Spearman just getting up in here and grinding for ages. Not super powerful, but I mean, at the very least, here you've got Swordsman holding back all these miners. Just occupying these Longbeards as well for an extended period of time. Look at this formation of the dwarves here. They're like fighting on either side, and they got a little pathway between the formation. It's pretty cool. Knights of the Black Rose don't seem too interested in having the honor guard
Unending glory is
on either
yours.
side of them. They're just chilling. Very nicely done by the Empire. Dowie needed to have an artillery piece of their own. Either that, or they just need to defend the Grimdelvers a little better early, because they would have been really good for shooting down not just Boris and the Grey Wizard, but also these War Wagons, which got some pretty solid value. You can even use the Grimdelvers as secret agents to go kill the Mortar. Or the Sunmaker, like creep them around the edge of the map and get them in position. Yeah, the Sunmaker is just vicious. It's such a nasty unit. It's 527 kills here. 3,800 value. My god, man. If that is more than you could ever ask. Don't worry about the initial build. I mean, like, a win's a win, dude. Like, the Sunmaker was all you really needed. It is an incredible artillery piece against the dwarves. As long as you can get it somewhere where they can't countershoot it with their own artillery, it will always farm value on them. Because the Dowie really do love to be in some tightly packed formations. And the Sunmaker is a little inaccurate. But the more infantry your opponent has in one area, the more likely it is that the Sunmaker just eviscerates everything in its like cone that it's firing into. Alright, let's get some Kislev versus Tzeentch here. The name of the replay is very appealing. Finally, a use for the Mutalith. For real? Against Kislev, I wouldn't really think the Mutalith would be very good. It's pretty lightly armored, and it's got good abilities. Yeah, it's got the Mortis engine, obviously, but I don't know. Kislev with their Griffin Legion and stuff can probably pin it in place pretty nicely. And then just shoot it to death would be my, would have been my, guess. But maybe that won't happen here. Hawks of Miska, Hailstorm, very powerful spells. Hawks of Miska especially good against stuff like Blue Horrors and Furies and Screamers and whatnot. Which is very important because, not only does it do good damage to those units, but it also doesn't damage your own troops. As well as imbuing a Discourage effect. So not only can you bring a Fury down to its knees early with the damage from the spell, but also debuff their leadership to a point where the Furies are probably going to crumble out early. So I love that selection against Tzeentch. Any of the Chaos Monogod factions, that'd be a pretty good option. Exalted Heroes. A Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Metal. Oh, Blasted Standard. Okay. I mean, that is going to make it a little harder to hit the Exalted Heroes. They don't have a chariot, or they don't have a, they don't have a shield at base, but a little bit of missile block chance is never a bad thing, I guess. Good Searing Doom onto the Armored Cossars, but you probably should have held on to it with the Griffin Legion screaming in. You definitely want to use Searing Doom to hammer cavalry whenever possible, because it's just so much value to get. What the hell was this? Is that Hailstorm? Really weird Hailstorm effect comes down, but hard punishes the Marauder Horsemen. We got Kossovite Dervishes also just flying down and taking these dudes out one by one. The Javelins are getting a little bit of revenge, though. The Dervishes, they are going to pull back and look for a better opportunity to dive in later, I guess. Blue Horrors shooting Kislev Warriors. Marauders also fighting them here, getting some pretty good value in the process. And the Griffin Legion seems to really want to shut down the chariot characters, although these chariots are not doing anything. Been weirdly limp on the charge, it seems. That's why you use Searing Doom on cavalry. Almost half the HP on the Griffin Legion taken out in one go of it. And it's on a really short cooldown. Searing Doom is, yeah, every 30 seconds. That's brutally quick. I would say that you could probably put Searing Doom on a little bit longer of a cooldown, and that would be a little bit more fair. In the grand scheme of things, I don't think it matters too much. But I think like a 45-second cooldown would make it a little bit less ridiculous, the kind of value that you can get out of Searing Doom. Finishes nuking all of the units here. The Armored Cossars and the Griffin Legion just totally dead and gone now. And almost 1,000 value on the Chaos Sorcerer. Yeah, 895. It's pretty solid. The Exalted Heroes have been a little bit less impactful. I don't know what it is that's causing them to struggle so badly here. They are pulling out, and they're going to be looking for an opportunity to maybe charge down some of the Kislev infantry pushing the number 2. Here's the Butolith. Come on, do something. Gets in on the Kossovite Dervishes and starts smacking them up. Which is pretty brutal. I can definitely finish these guys off here with the assistance of the Blue Horrors. And then getting over to maybe take down some of these Kislevite Warriors and the Armored Cossars. Maybe even killing the Boryar wouldn't be bad. Beautiful Hawks of Miska. A better Searing Doom, though. God, dude, the Searing Dooms have been so nasty. Got almost 300 value for that guy. Got more Griffin Legion coming in. Tzeentch just needs to be patient on the number 3. They should probably think about bringing a Centaur of Tzeentch out. other than that, though, I really like the position that Mr. Fly is in. Like, solid up trades so far. You've got your heroes really bullying a bunch of infantry out here on the flank. This is what I was expecting from the chariot characters earlier. I don't know why they weren't nearly as efficient last time we were checking them out. Taking a few dudes and their heads, and another brutal Searing Doom going down. I think Kislev is just totally screwed here. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. They can still get in this. It's going to be a little tough, though. And you got the Centaurs of Tzeentch over here chewing on the Frost Maiden. Frost Maiden not going to get any more spell casting off. Get disorientated, going down on the Kossars, lowering their stats. Speed, melee attack, and melee defense. Really nasty debuffs. How does this proc? Oh, Tides of Transformation procs it. Okay. It's pretty good, honestly. Every 32 seconds it goes off. Duration 32 seconds. 9 damage per second. No AP values, but that's no big deal. You still get some good work done. Furies taming some of the Kossars, while the Griffin Legion just totally bum rush the Tzeentch army on the number 3 here. Just flatten all of the infantry. Kislev has built back up a decent force on their number 1 objective, but they really don't want to press their luck. Tzeentch going for the outside is the right call here. If they can clean up the Winged Lancers and the Kossovite Dervishes here, as well as this Winged Lancer, it's gonna be game over, I think. Chaos Sorcerers have such cool staffs, dude. Oh, and a good countercharge on the Centaurs of Tzeentch. Clean up all the cavalry in here. More Kossovite Dervishes going down. Another Searing Doom. God, they've been so good. Mr. Fly literally killed the rest of the Kossovite Dervishes. Kossovite Warriors not looking a whole lot better. 2,000? Yeah, 2,000 value on our boy there. Nice stuff. And the Javelin Horsemen have been used well. It's really nice to see. They're quite a strong little skirmish tool. You can see them poking down the Griffin Legion as they try to run away, debuffing their armor and imbuing Wart Flame, which does increase weakness to fire damage. They're going to get up on the number 1, and Tzeentch is just going to gear up for another fight on the number 3, if they're smart. That's all they need to do. There's not a whole lot else that's required of them. They just lock down these 2 objectives and take the dub home here. Now, Kislev's not totally out of it. I mean, like, they have definitely fallen short on the value trade side of things. There's an outside chance that they get in this. I just don't know how they killed a Mutalith Beast, right? I think the Mutalith is just way too much to ask for these Kossars and Armored Kossars to kill at this stage of the game. Earlier, they could have focus fired it, but because Kislev kind of put their chips in 2 different baskets with pushes on the home and on the middle at once, they didn't win either engagement because they were splitting their attention too much. And not only that, but they left this big monster way too healthy. It's going to be going after the Armored Kossars with great weapons back there. Searing Doom, very ineffective this time around. Very fortunate for Kislev. Being able to avoid that was pretty big money. We get a really nice Tzeentch army ability here. The Griffin Legion are kind of trying to pull out, but a lot of them are still in the radius. Look how devastating that is. My goodness. Oh no, the Armored Kossars are dead to a man almost. Oh my god. And now the Chariot character's mopping them up. Yeesh. Another Searing Doom. How many more Searing Dooms can Kislev possibly take? 2,500 value on our boy here. 1,600 on the Exalted Hero. Mr. Fly showing some stuff here, man. I love it. And yeah, Mr. Fly just pushes right up onto the home objective as Kislev is again splitting their attention in too many directions. And that's going to probably be a pretty short, straightforward, and very cool victory for the Changer of Ways. That laser beam attack seems devastating. Oh my gosh. Kind of crazy, honestly. This thing is tired, yeah? Oh yeah, it's not exhausted, so it's not losing melee defense. I was confused for a second there. Never mind me, guys. Yeah, it's probably going to end up with about 2,000 value. 2,100 actually already. So maybe 24? Depends on how much longer our Kislevite player here is going to be trying to hang in. I would probably just concede. The game's like almost over. It doesn't really matter. The value differential is very misleading. Mr. Fly has done way more damage to the Kislev army than the other way around. Absolutely no bones about it.
Unending glory is yours.
The value tracker is just broken. It's totally misleading. Don't trust it. Don't believe in it, please. Read the battlefield if you need to know what's going on. Open your eyes and look, and start doing some arithmetic in your head. Good stuff on all of the big monsters and single entities for Tzeentch here. I mean, yeah, great value off the Chaos Sorcerer, and then both Exalted Heroes paid for themselves, plus the Mutalith with 2,300 value. A very efficient Centaur. You gotta love to see it. You really do. This is beautiful. Alright. Mr. Fly with the aptitude, man. We did watch this game the other day. If there's any games that I, like, skip over, quote-unquote, then I probably did them on Saturday already. I've got... How much more time do I have here? I got another hour to cast. And then I'll need to go. It'll be a little shorter stream today. We've made pretty good progress on the replays here. It's going to be Potatoes versus Hattie here. Very curious to see how this works. You got a lot of Crane Gunners. You got a ton of Iron Hails. Maxed out Iron Hail Gunners with a Fire Rain Rocket. The problem with the Iron Hails is the Rangers are going to delete them. It ain't even going to be close. Rangers have so much better range.
Backbone of Grand Cathay. The true bastion of this country. Show our enemy that Cathay's soldiers are to be feared.
Yeah. Anyways. Iron Hells are really short range. They got no armor. And Rangers can easily body them. But we do have the Fire Rain and double Crane Gunner right out the gate. And right out the gate, Cathay getting a ton of value. Just firing into these overly blobbed up Dowie. They just can't afford to sit in such a tightly packed formation against a rocket battery as well as the Crane Gunners. You can't just waddle in like this. You know, if your opponent has a clear ranged advantage on you on one area of the battlefield, don't do it. Don't engage here. Rotate over. Take the number 3. And have your units on the high ground look to rotate a little bit to the low. If you do that, I think you'll have a little bit more success, because look at the Dowie in the middle, man. They just got absolutely deleted. They have Belegar left and the Thane, and that's literally it. Oh, Dios. Oh my god. Dios mio, indeed. Belegar and the Thane are soaking up a lot of damage right now. You can see him blocking a ton of missiles with that silver shield. 120 armor. Not super important here, but helping a little bit against some of these units. She dead? Oh, she is dead. I don't know why I thought that Ironhail was gonna get back up. But Belegar's up in the Ironhail gunner line, which is really nice. I mean, it shuts their shooting down while these miners get into position to throw their blasting charges. And they do get some pretty good value. Empress Croman flying overhead, though, dropping the bomb ability that they have. And kind of farming up those poor miners so you don't get them all away. Dowie is still down, man. It's just so brutal. Ironhail's gonna turn around. God, please kill Belegar. It'd be so funny. Nah, they're gonna pull the swords out. You know, they've got some moves. They're not slouches for sure in melee combat. It's good form on the swings against Belegar from one of those characters. One of the models, at least. Slayers versus Onyx Croman. Onyx Croman gonna win this one with the assistance of the Ironhails. Miners getting in here. Does that equalize it any? Not really. Still got these Ironhail gunners just poking away at the flank of the Slayer unit. 1400 value is pretty damn solid. Miners push back. Rangers, two very beleaguered Rangers. Trying to hang on to the number one from the Onyx Croman pressure. You've also got the Peasant Horsemen screaming up the field looking to kill these guys. Shouldn't be too long in the coming. And the Alchemist is going down to Belegar.
Glorious. You have killed an enemy lord.
Or is this... Oh, this is the Thane. Oh no! Belegar died? Oh my goodness. The Ironhails and the Crane Gunners did it. I can't believe I missed that. I don't know what the hell was going through my mind. Celestial General also chipping in a little bit to kill some of these dwarves. Does have Celestial Sweep. Oh, and uses it there. Look at the damage it does. It's so powerful. Nice value on him. 1750 isn't terrible. Empress Croman, Peasant Horseman chilling. Let's absolutely go. Could they put in the moves on the Dowie right now?
One of your units has been...
Yeah, I mean, just trundling forward and getting shot from the flank is not great. You really should have each of these units pushing down one of the remaining Ironhails. And the Crane Gunners also need to be dealt with. Here's the thing about another thing that makes the Crane Gunners so good against the Dowie, other than Shield Breaker and the AP damage that they do. They're long enough range with the Silver Shield that enemy bow units can't really shoot these guys down very effectively, so you usually need mobility to kill Crane Gunners, but the Dowie don't have any of that. They can bring gyrocopters, but gyros have to close a lot of ground. They'll get shot by the Crane Gunners all the way in. And then I just don't see the steam guns from the gyrocopters being enough damage to kill those guys. Even the Brimstone gun, I think, would be struggling to kill the Cranes. Crane Gunners are just deceptively annoying to deal with. Like, a lot of the typical answers for stuff like this is to use, like, cannons to counter them. Stuff like that that's just really long range that can chip them down without any real input or any, like, overly aggressive dives. Because if you go for dives with your units, what happens is you go in, your opponent clocks it immediately, more often than not. You full commit, you do a bunch of damage to the crane gunners, yeah, but they survive. And they've got like 14 models, 18 models, something in that ballpark. And you've probably thrown away like a 600-700 gold unit just to slow the crane gunners down, who will still be able to fire and get decent value and get unsummoned. While you're sitting at a deficit because of how poorly your dive trades went. And that happens a lot. An awful lot against Cathay. Cathay is really good into factions that don't have any artillery out on the field, and the Dowie really should have a cannon. Like, one cannon is enough to shut down crane gunners, it's enough to shut down fire rain rockets. It's not enough to shut down a Cathay Grand Cannon, but you don't see those terribly often. Especially as the Dowie, you'll usually see the rocket battery instead. The Dowie's artillery is just too good to pass up, guys. Always bring one. And honestly, cut one of these Slayers and just get the artillery piece. Slayers are really not that strong. They're way overcosted for what they can do. Slayers are honestly pretty much exactly like Khorngors in a lot of ways. Where when they uptrade, they look like one of the best units in the game, but oftentimes they just get shot to death, and they don't do a damn thing at all. You've got to be discerning about what kinds of matchups you want your Slayers for. I don't think Grand Cathay is a very good matchup for Slayers. Slayers lose to flyers, they lose to chariots, they lose to shooting, they lose to armored chaff infantry, they lose to anything else they lose to. They kind of lose to magic, because Slayers not having armor makes them very vulnerable to spells like Dragon Breath. Not that that's really the best thing to bring against the Dowie, because you got tons of other ways to kill Slayers anyways, but it is another thing to keep in mind for problems they can run into. So, if you're just keeping it all that in mind and kind of like working around all of that to figure out ways to deal with your opponent, then you'll be okay. You just can't take anything for granted in this game. You've got to be pretty duplicitous to take victories. You need to have your opponent off balance as early as possible, and force them to take bad trades into your units. And that's usually how you're going to win in domination mode, is by out-positioning people, as well as like outbuilding them. Having a good build is one of the most crucial parts of the multiplayer system. Tactics sometimes won't mean a thing if the units you have on the field are just hot dog water. Making sure that you have a good balance of units that meet all of your baseline needs as a faction, as well as something that can cover for the weaknesses, and then really like trying to synergize your most powerful elements together to outtrade your opponent in the early game is kind of a necessity for most factions. It's exceptionally rare that you can just sit and be passive. And the Dowie not having a lot of mobility, I swear I'm finally getting to the point. The Dowie not having any mobility whatsoever, other than gyrocopters, you don't have cap weight, don't do any damage in melee combat, blah blah blah, is a big problem, which is why the cannon is so important. It immediately flips bad situations back around in the Dowie's favor. Just because of how strong they are at counter battery fire. And, like, poking the enemy down at, you know, an insanely long distance. I mean, Dowie cannons have, what, 420 meters of range? And that gets buffed up if you bring somebody like Malachi. With his, I can't remember what the ability is. Eye of Grungni, I think, is maybe what it is.
Keep it from the foe.
Gives like another 10% range to artillery, which is pretty huge. I mean, a cannon getting that takes it to like 180 meters almost. Actually, a little more, now that I'm thinking about it. Engineer and Marcus coming in here. Hobgoblin Sneaky getting pounded a little bit right now. These Empire Engineers are terrifying. This guy is so accurate. They use the repeater, the Outrider repeater gun, but they actually hit with all of their shots, unlike the Outriders. And the Engineer can rack up pretty crazy value for such a cheap character. They cost 700 gold with Mercurial Shot, I believe. If they use all their ammunition up, they'll get well past that. It's pretty great. Sorcerer Prophet flying overhead. You got the Light Wizard chilling back here. Trying to stay away from that Sorceress Miasma that the Lamassu Deathcaster has. There's not really a reason to avoid going back here to try and attack this flyer. Dude, Melkor with this Light Wizard has been so nasty. He drops a Shem's Burning Gaze here and just chunks HP out of the Death Shriek. 344 value on the Shems there. I don't know if it was overcast. I would overcast. It's a lot of extra damage. Let's do some math here. We got 5 missiles, 70 damage on the range, explosive 65, 130 something between them all. I think he just undercasted that one. It's just fine. That's really all I need to do. Ogla Khan's boys getting pushed off already. That's a 900 gold Hobgoblin unit. These guys are expensive. They're really expensive for how squishy they are. And you don't want to just leave them out in the open where your opponent's Nuln Ironsides, you're going to be able to shoot them to bits. Big Nuln Ironside line. I love it, dude. You don't see them too often. I have played around with the Nolans, though, and been pretty jazzed by just how effective they can be. They fire so quickly once they get dug in with Black Powder Discipline, and it only takes 10 seconds for them to get it active. And now they're going to fire every 6.3 seconds. That's absolutely insane. More than enough to easily focus fire and punish these Hobgoblin Wolf Raiders as they're stuck in the net of Amatok here that Light Wizard threw down. And look at the casualties coming in there. Ouch. Big ouch for the Chaos Dwarves right now. They're down trading pretty badly. The big issue is that they're being too aggressive. I do this into Empire all the time too, trust me, I get it. You really don't want to just sit and get shot, but sometimes it's the best thing you can do. Especially the Chaos Dwarves. Like, you just throw the Goblin Laborers forward to, like, keep your opponent's, like, infantry or missiles occupied, tire it all out, and then send in the Chowie Warriors and stuff like that. This freaking Deathstreak rocket has not done a damn thing hardly. It's gotten one good volley. It's got 222 value, 70 kills. It means it probably hit a spearman or a swordsman. Which is not the issue for the Chaos Dwarves. They really need to kill the Nuln Ironsides. They've been pretty vicious so far. But a beautiful shot from the Deathstreak is immediately going to start getting the Chaos Dwarfs back in this game. WN is not traded well so far, but we got a long way to go. The game's not close to being over. And WM has been holding the points this entire time, which is massive. Empire's got their one objective, but WM with 500 tickets, 580 tickets, I mean, sorry. And ticking with the double cap is going to be in a position to maybe hold just on 1 point into the later stages of this game and lock a win out that way. Sorcerer Prophet gets hit by the Net of Amantok. Oh, Hunter Snare, actually. Pops his Spirit Leech on Marcus and is going to need to pull out of here. Chalice is available. Should be able to heal up a decent amount because of it. See, getting a little bit going there. And Nolan's getting back in range. Immediately after the Hunter Snare wears off, we get the Net of Amantok on the Sorcerer Prophet. And he's getting bullied once more. Another really nice Shim's Burning Gaze. Taking a long time to kill this Deathstreak, though, unfortunately. I think with the Deathstreak being that low, it's where you get an Empire Knight to, like, go flank around the battlefield to get on the Deathstreak rocket. Because if you let it fire, like, maybe 8 more shots, it's probably going to have killed your backline. I mean, the Nuln Ironsides are pretty beat up now. They are struggling a little bit. Some of them have paid for themselves. We got Free Company, Militia, Halberds, and the Sterling's Revenge moving around the flank there. Oh my god. Ew. Oh, it's so gross. Half the health off of that unit with one Deathstreak shot. 1,700 value. It's going to miss this one, I think, because they're retreating. Oh, maybe it's tracking appropriately. Oh my god, man. Wow, the collateral damage, too. Onto the other Nuln Ironside that was rallying. We get one that shatters completely, and the other is not rallying anytime soon. Oh my god, man. Chaos Dwarves somehow in this game. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's because their characters have honestly been the weak link so far. Like, this Death Sorcerer has been getting his ass kicked all game. But the Chaos Dwarf Warriors and the Sneaky Gits have been pretty reliable so far. They have gotten a lot of damage done. They've been holding on to the point. Kadai Fireborn up here as well to help out. Number 3 is in trouble. We got Hobgoblin Wolf Raiders answering the call. I don't know what that Shims did. It literally seems like it did nothing. The Skullcracker was just getting shot by a few of the remaining Nuln Ironsides and not moving it around at all. You can't make a mistake with something like this. Skullcrackers are expensive, dude. They cost 1,200 gold. Losing it like that is... ouch. Like, just... I'd be so sad if I saw that happening to me. Another Shem's not really doing any damage to the Chaos Dwarf Warriors there in the middle. I think because it impacted off of the Kadai, who have been munching through a lot of other units, not really worrying about anything else. You get Oglacon's boys and the Hobgoblin Wolf Raiders going after the Free Company Militia, doing a little bit of damage to them, nothing crazy. Hobgoblin Sneaky Gits going over to support with a Hobgoblin Cutthroat in the mix. Kadai doing their thing. Okay. Oh, Empire Knight's out. Oh man, Melkor maybe gonna be on the upswing again in a moment here. This game is in the balance right now. Melkor needs to get points. That's the only thing the Empire should be worrying about, and they are losing the #1 objective. Often that top left-hand side of the screen there. Not something that they really want to allow happen. They do lose this Empire Knight as well. Looks like they killed the, they finished off the Death Shriek, which is great, but the Bull Centaur Renders are able to just absolutely munch on those guys. And that Render will be able to clean up some of these other Knight units that are left, surely, right? Or are the Knight? Oh, this is an Outrider, not a Knight. I don't know how I didn't notice it. Firing away, getting some good work done. I mean, shooting Goblin Laborers right now, which isn't an ideal target. Still fairly effective damage. I mean, it's getting rid of some chaff so that you can maybe just maneuver or not have to maneuver around them a whole bunch in the late game. Sneaky gets and the Cutthroats pushing up. Free Company Militia rallying here. Definitely want to turn around and get in a position to support the Outriders who are running for their lives right now. Trying to get up on the number 1, I think. Oh, maybe gonna shoot down the, oh yeah, the Hobgoblin Wolf Raiders to the target. Ouchies. 308 value on the Outriders. Did see another shims going down. What are these shims hitting? We had 2 good casts of it earlier in the game. Since then, they've just been impacting into terrain a whole bunch and not really doing anything. Which is very sad. Empire is winning on the value trading, but I don't think it matters because a lot of that value is tied up in characters. And the Chaos Dowie army has just dismantled all of the Empire's like shooting and their State Trooper Corps. A lot of the mobility is being bullied pretty badly. We got another Empire Knight getting flattened by Bull Centaur Renders. They also helped kill the Outrider here. They've got about 900 value. They got a ways to go before they pay for themselves, but if they're even nearly as effective as the Kadai, they will very quickly trade up into a position where they can just close the game out for the Chaos Dwarves, who are potentially getting that number 3 objective back. Got a Chaos Dowie Warrior over here. Hobgoblin Sneaky gets gonna walk off that point. It does start to flip back to the Empire.
I knew it.
Doesn't end up mattering. Probably one of most hated artillery. Are you talking about the Death Shriek? Because that's very fair. This thing is absolutely crazy. 3,000 value! God, the Empire was doing so well at first, but the second that artillery, the Death Shriek, swapped onto the Nolan Ironsides, it was over, man. It just killed, it killed all 4, I think. There were the 3 in the starting army and 1 in reserve, and I'm pretty sure it took down most of them by itself, which is pretty nuts. This is just, like, the perfectly sized unit to be hitting with it. The Nolan Ironsides are an okay unit. They're like a campaign tool. They're better there than they are in multiplayer, but they can still definitely value trade. Maybe not into a faction that has such good artillery, though. We did watch this one. We watched this the other day. Seen this one. Actually gotten through a lot of the replays today, which is really nice. I'm glad I was able to get so many done. Let's watch Empire versus Lizards. This is a pretty tough matchup for the Lizardmen, honestly. The big problem the Lizards run into is that they don't have a lot of good answers for stuff like war wagons. Chameleon Skinks are probably their best tool to kill war wagons, but Chameleon Skinks, on the flip side of the equation, are incredibly vulnerable to heavy cavalry. Heavy cavalry makes mincemeat out of Chameleon Skinks. And the Empire can throw so many out onto the field that they can oftentimes overwhelm the Coldwind Spear Riders and just run roughshod over the Skinks. And by the time the Lizards get enough Coldwind Spear Riders out, they don't have infantry support. And the War Wagons just ride around and just blast the Spear Riders into oblivion at that stage. So the War Wagons are going to roll forward. Skink Priest with Heaven's Magic also needs to be very careful. From experience, I can tell you that the Skink Priests on these Pterodons are a very vulnerable target to the War Wagons. And you do not want to let them get shot. Some good volley fire coming down. War Wagons are just racking it up already. Not surprising. These things are just ridiculous against things that don't have shields. The best thing you can do against War Wagons is to either have artillery that can counterfire them, or you bring shielded units who just sit and box them out. Because the War Wagons' damage is good, but it takes ages for them to kill things that have shields. So something with a silver shield and a ton of HP usually is more than enough to deal with them. I wouldn't bring red-crested skinks against the Empire either. You're missing a lot of charges here too, GG. Oh man. There's a lot of notes here. It's really good Wind Blast. I will give you that. Empire is probably going to go really wide against you. They're going to bring the War Wagons as the AP against big dinosaurs. A little surprised to see Hawklands, but they're pretty respectable as well. Red-crested skinks are a good unit for killing armored targets. Like, the idea is they run in with a charge bonus, attack, get some good damage with the weapon strength, then use that 46 speed to disengage from enemy troops. Using red-crested skinks to attack spearmen and swordsmen, state troopers, is very inefficient. You take a lot of punishment on the way in, and you're going to sit into combat with these guys for a long time, while your armor piercing is just not useful against the lightly armored state troopers. And your light armor is going to be doing you a disservice, since your skinks are actually just a little bit squishier than the state troopers are. The state troopers are already fairly squishy unit. God damn these War Wagons. Oh my god, dude. Nakai is going to die in moments here, I think. He's got a really cool set of attack animations. You can see his little slap. Knocking people around. Nakai gets gunned down. That's going to be GG. Empire is really bullying the Lizards right now. We do have some good shooting coming down here on the flank on those spearmen. It's the War Wagons, man. Still no answer for them. Let's see if we can watch it here. We get a huge rout going down. Empire Knights versus Cold Ones versus Spear Riders. Would be very favorable for the Spear Riders and the Cold One Riders, if it weren't for the fact that, like I said, most of the infantry weren't dead. Because now what can happen is your opponent just uses their infantry to screen your mobility, and they countercharge you the whole way through.
Don't give them an inch! Don't stop until they're all dead!
One Empire Knight taken down by the Ancient Sally. How's Sally doing? About 400 value. A little too slow value trading for my liking here. That last shot was pretty good, though. It'll do pretty vicious damage to the Free Company Militia, which is what I'm interested to see. Is he going to drop the shot here? Not quite. Maybe looking to do some horrible stuff to Daceburg's reinforcements. Royal Altar Gryphites are out, and Empire has a small lead. Nothing too substantial. They definitely need to just make sure they don't lose any more war wagons. They've lost quite a few here. That's really terrible. This one has its complement of 4. This one's got 3 models left. It's a little beat up. This one's got 4 too. Oh, there's another one. How many frickin' war wagons do you need, bro? Oh my god. I respect the war wagons a lot, but god damn is it annoying to play against. I hate seeing war wagon lines for the Empire. It kills me more than anything else that they can bring. Oh, a nice Searing Doom going down on the Saurus. Too bad it's too little too late. Got all these Empire Knights rolling over, and yeah, the Cold One Spear Riders, the Cold One Knights, they were okay. You need to get more value. And a good surround on that Ancient Salamander. Ancient Salamanders are pretty tough, though. They've got a lot of armor for, you know, just like a regular-ass-looking dinosaur. Sitting there at 95. They're also crazy fast. I mean, 75 speed at base is pretty awesome for a single entity artillery piece. Because I believe Skull Cannons have 68. So the extra 7 is a really nice boost and can definitely be felt pretty quickly, depending on how the situation on the battlefield is shaking out. Empire Knights trotting in. Volley fire from the Free Company militia as they approach.
We are doomed!
Don't be a defeatist, buddy. You're not doomed. They're not doing anything to the Saurus unit, man.
What do these foes know of Set guard.
A little bit of a Mexican standoff on one side, but now the Saurus are in combat and they'll easily kill the Free Company militia. Free Company just do not have the stats and armor to hold up under the weight of attacks from a Saurus warrior. Empire Knights coming to the rescue a little bit is going to help out some, but #1 objective is just going to get, Wait, this is Lizardmen controlled. What the hell? Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, the Lizards just need to retake the points here. Saurus Warrior's gonna be able to, maybe pull it off over there. Sunmaker comes out and is dropping some great shots. Cohort of Sotek running for their lives. All the war wagons in the world just roaming around, using the last of their ammunition. The Hawklands with 2,000 value is massive. Shooting back the Saurus Warriors. God, lizards are resilient, dude, aren't they? My god. Oh my god, the Sunmaker. It's so good, dude. God, I love this artillery piece. Hate to love it kind of relationship, you know? Oh? Just a little tickling damage from the Sunmaker as they make their way off the field. What else can you shoot at? God damn, how are the lizards not tapped out here? I respect the effort, but this is a definite loss here.
Unending.
The attempt at the comeback was nice. It was just not enough, man. Being down about 4,000 value is almost always too much to ask. I liked the attempt, though, by GG to stay scrappy there at the end. Cool unit when you're not on the receiving end. Oh yeah, 100%. Nobody wants to get shot at by the Sunmaker. I had one really funny game, though. I will say this. I had a great game against the Empire one time where my opponent was using the Sunmaker. And all I did was just rush up into his infantry line, and the Sunmaker blew up as many of his troops as they did mine. And I won that game because of that. Because I won the mobility really hard as a result. Because I had already invested in mine. They hadn't. You know, there are ways around the Sunmaker. You gotta get really inventive at times, though. Round 5 Empire Beastman. I'm pretty sure we already watched that one. Can you send it to me again, bro? If you really want me to check it out. Because I'm pretty sure we saw it and I deleted it. Because I pared down a lot of the stuff we've already seen. And what we have here is just like the remainder. In fact, some of these I think I have also neglected to delete. At least a few of them. We watched this one. We watched that one twice. Definitely saw that. Just watched. Okay. Oh, thank you, Melkor. I'm downloading it again. At the very least, I'll drop it in my folders and we'll see. I didn't watch it. 100% didn't, because you played Iceman. And you did beat Iceman, which is very impressive. So I am actually really curious to see this replay that you sent me. It's gonna be nice to have. Give me one sec, guys. Let me just go ahead and drop this replay in. Then we're ready. Who's ready for the patch tomorrow, by the way? It's going to be awesome, dude. Patch looks super great. All kinds of cool campaign items, adjustments. They're patching the Seekers. So Seekers are no longer super thin models. You can actually hit them. Or I should say, what am I talking about? So Seekers currently in the game have very, very small models that don't collide with one another as they're piling into combat. So with the armor piercing and the good stats they have, they just delete everything. They're so disgustingly strong. That is being reduced with the patch tomorrow. So we might be able to unrestrict Slaanesh.
That the elements themselves are with you.
Nice. I'm probably still gonna ban Pavane, but unless Seekers are just like monstrously overpowered still somehow, it'd be really nice to be able to allow Slaanesh to play with their whole roster, because god, it sucks having to ban stuff, man. Like, ideally, we would love as a community to just be able to allow anything and everything all the time. But some things just get a little too egregious. And the Seekers are definitely one of them. Mortar getting a lot of damage done to these poor peasant horsemen, man. Amazing stuff. So Havren is just creeping forward, you know, some peasants and some Jade Warriors backed up by Nangao grenades. The Grand Cannon is gonna kill Silostra in about 2 minutes here. It is just pummeling her so horrifically. She has nowhere to go and sit right now. definitely just get her out of range and maybe go over there to the forest. And instead of attacking the number 1 objective, what you can do here is sit with your missiles and just poke away from there, and that would be nice. There's an example of damage boosted Dragon Breath, it seems. I only have 1 Alchemist. Yeah, wow, only 15% more damage, and it really did basically kill the zombie pirate gunnery mob here. They are shooting the Nangao grenades to death, which is amazing for them. Nangao grenades are really annoying. They wouldn't have done tremendous damage, but they also have a Heaven's Flash, which is like a cool debuff. That can be pretty devastating. Jade Warriors fighting Animated Hulks. I don't like this. Just keep them on the point, I guess. You're overextending them this way. And this is... it always pains me to see people do stuff like this. Don't summon your units a million miles away from a fight, because they only last a certain amount of time. These guys last 88 seconds before they disintegrate. So you want to make every last second count on that 88 seconds. Summon them right behind the front line and just start charging stuff down. You know, the Damn Knights Errant are really good at causing terror routes because of the imbuement here. As well as just being able to reduce leadership with fear also. Like, fear and terror and then rear charges stack up so fast in breaking your opponent. It's really vicious. Definitely want to be trying to make that happen more consistently. And Onyx Croman just jump on the mortar, and Lucreon is really slow reacting, unfortunately. Gonna lose that mortar. Damn Knights Errant sweeping a lot of units up, getting a decent amount of value, but only 10 more seconds on these guys now. And then they'll be gone. And that's gonna hurt a lot, man, because it's a very powerful summon, and it usually gets 600-700 value. Only getting 300 out of it is not great. It's a little lackluster for sure. Slosher getting pounded again by the Grand Cannon. She's never going to have a moment's peace this game, dude. She is hating life right about now. You can see some of these spectral villains just lying around dead. Depth Guard, Gunnery Mob, and Animated Hulks up on the point. Animated Hulk's getting in on the Peasant Long Spears, which is okay for a charge, but pull them out because they'll die. They only have 30 armor, the Hulks. The Peasant Long Spears are deceptively powerful. They're getting enhanced metallurgy here, so their weapon strength is being raised. These guys don't have any way to avoid terror routes. But at the very least, against big, monstrous units like the Hulks, they have a huge bonus versus large of 17. I mean, these guys are like Yari Ashigaru from Shogun 2, in terms of, like, their holding capabilities. They're deceptively good at holding a line. I've really come to appreciate them for what they are. They're a little lackluster in a lot of matchups. I think this is probably one of the worst matchups to bring peasants into. Because, again, they just get scared and terrified by everything. Just bring warriors, and I think a Zhangu War Drum is a really good call in this matchup. Even if your opponent did bring some long-range shooting, you can bring your own Crane Gunners and stuff to shoot down the Shade Wraith Gunners. It actually resolves pretty favorably for Cathay. The trade between Cranes and Det Gunners is very much in favor of Cathay. Plus, you got Onyx Croman to kill stuff like this. So if you just keep the Zhangu War Drum alive from cannons and also like Siloster or something, it'll get you a ton of value because it makes your Jade Warriors unstoppable monstrosities against these undead units who already struggle to kill Jade Warriors. The Jade Warriors getting ITP as well as extra melee attack and boosted harmony is pretty gross. Zhao Ming hovering above, looks to land on the Night Terrors, and I don't know how long he's going to last, though. I mean, Cathay is looking real beleaguered. The only thing that's really been doing great damage is this Grand Cannon. The Peasant Horsemen have been getting bullied a little bit, and the Jade Warriors, I think it's just the fact that Cathay went for full court press. Don't do that as Cathay. Like, just juice yourself up to take 2 objectives and hold those for the rest of the game. Trying to overextend and do more than you're capable of is always going to get you in a risky spot with them. Because it's not that Cathay is a weak... Cathay is not a weak faction because they don't have winning strategies and units. Cathay is a weak strategy, or, oh my god, a weak strategy. Cathay is a weak faction because they play from ahead, and they cannot counter-push with melee units. If you can force your opponent into you and counter-fire them all game, then you're probably going to take a victory. If you do stuff like this where you overstretch your units, and you don't have like a localized advantage in firepower, and your opponent gets up on you, and then is able to, like, press you back, that's pretty much game over because of how slow your infantry are, as well as how little damage they do in melee combat. It's hard to resummon your shooting and get it in a position to win as Cathay as well. And the Grand Cannon is going down here, and where's Sylastra? Yeah, Sylastra's right here. She didn't do anything. 122 value Sylastra. It's honestly kind of rare to see. Sylastra is a character who can get you like 3,000 plus value pretty consistently. She's very strong. This crab is absolutely nuts, dude. It's got immune to flanking, which means melee attack, or not melee attack, melee defense is always active for it, even when it's surrounded, which is indispensable against factions like Grand Cathay, where they're gonna have like a ton of spears, or like armored infantry, maybe even some like Jade Warrior halberds and Jade Lancers and stuff like that. It prevents chip damage really nicely for her. Really the only thing that threatens Sylastra easily is shooting. And other big single entities. The crab is just sitting on the Celestial Lion over and over again. Trying to kill her, but Song of Enthrallment comes down. Zhao Ming did get the Burning Van Braces off, which is great, but they just can't finish Sylastra, man, and their infantry is just totally donezo. A bunch of Nangao grenades come out. The Jade Warriors are fighting toe-to-toe with them, pretty much. The Night Terrors are going to be a little bit overkill, I would say. Which isn't really a bad thing for killing all of these Cathay units, but, you know, I mean, they kind of, I mean, they want to kill armored infantry, the Morn Ghouls. And I guess just throwing them up to stuff stuff back isn't a bad idea. They're a little risky being used up here. They could get run down by a Jade Lancer or something pretty quickly. But they're not going to take any damage here from all of these Cathay units, so I guess it doesn't really matter. And they will get their hunger going, so they'll be a little bit tankier as a result.
There is only defeat.
Unfortunate for Cathay, they just weren't quite able to get it running. Alright, we're going to close the stream out with Melkor's Game 5. And then I'll need to go, because, you know, I was working out earlier today. I had some other stuff I was doing. I'm getting pretty gassed. And this will be a really good endpoint, because this is a very even matchup. This is probably one of Empire's like better like trades. when it comes to fighting very mobile, aggressive factions. Just because they have Burning Head and they've got characters like Boris. This is a very nice selection of units on the part of Melkor. Particularly when it comes to the characters. We'll talk about why, just real quick. It doesn't take long. Boris is pretty straightforward. He's a shock and awe character. He doesn't have great sustain stats, but he does have a heal, so he'll heal cap unless you just absolutely, totally fumble the bag with him. White Cloak of Ulrich is a good melee attack reduction in a radius. Lowers speed by 5%. That's not that important, though. 5% is nothing. Crush the Weak is the first ability that helps him against the Beastmen tremendously. When units are below 50% of their base, they get hit by the extra debuff this provides, which is -4 leadership, -5 melee defense, and -5 melee attack, which is pretty rough. It's a lot of stuff to be debuffed all at once. Plus he has Blood Roar, which lowers by -8 whenever he's in melee combat. So what happens is that he lands in on stuff like Ungor's Spearherd or Zangor's. He drops through leadership by 8 immediately. And then as Primal Fury is wearing off, that's when they also get hit by Crush the Weak. Which is a double whammy, because that's when they lose their ITP and they lose their speed and melee attack and the benefits of those. And then Boris is just going to terror route them off the field at that point, because, yeah. All of the leadership debuffs he throws down is just a little too much for a lot of these Beastmen units to handle. Plus, you've got another way of stacking leadership debuffs with Burning Head, which provides the Burnt Contact effect, which is a -8 leadership imbuement, which is very painful. Immediate problem for the Beastmen here. They don't need to get this up in the face of the Empire. They took a little too much ground. Pulling back just a little bit here would be really nice. There's no reason to get this far in. This is a tiny little map, guys. I mean, the spawn zones on this map are 300 meters apart, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it's within artillery range for a lot of factions. And when you're pressing up in here against your opponent like this, you give them such, like, a nice advantage in terms of the mobility. I mean, you can also bring your mobility up pretty quickly as the Beastmen, but when you've got chariots that are trying to do the lion's share of damage to your opponent's front line, and you also need your, like, Zangors and stuff to be fairly healthy in the late game, and your opponent's dropping Burning Heads constantly, heavy knights coming out of these spawn zones and immediately getting up into your business is going to be pretty painful. Definitely don't want to allow it to happen regularly. Centaurs almost get Boris. In fact, they do surround Boris here with the Gorbel on him. Although they do kind of trickle up into the halberds here. Boris trying to push out. He's a little trapped up, which is not good for the Empire. Razorgore Chariot's brutalizing the Huntsman right now, too. Oh my god, Razorgores are such a joke. They're so powerful, man. Razorgore Chariots are crazy strong against missile lines, because what Razorgores do so well, when they get into the secondary line of enemies, it's hard to shut them down with infantry, because you can't really lock them in place with how much mass they have. Plus, they have the anti-infantry bonus, and it's hard to shoot them because they are in the middle of literally the entire formation. Your missile troops are going to, like, turn to fire at them, and they're going to have a lot of friendlies in the LOS that they are going to be very reluctant to shoot. Which will get you a really nice opportunity, especially if your opponent doesn't have cavalry up to immediately lock these guys down, to just cycle charge endlessly and blitz through your enemy's units and get them really low. The nice thing about the Razorgore Chariots is not only do they do a ton of HP damage, but they kill models very efficiently. because they have 70 melee attack, and a lot of that is AP. It gets very overwhelming. Iceman does have a small value lead. It's gonna be interesting to see if he's able to hold on to it. Flock of Doom and Enfeebling Foe are on the table. Popping Bestial Surge. Something Wicked this way comes is really not that good. I would just not bring it, honestly. It's pretty lackluster, truth be told. It's only 4 leadership and there's no other effects. Save the 100 gold and get a Winds of Magic recharge ability. I'm pretty sure that Malagor has a Winds of Magic recharge ability that costs 100 gold and is more powerful than Arcane Conduit. Can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. I think it's called Power Surge, in fact. It's really useful. Razorgore Chariots do get their value back, but they do go down to the Royal Altar of Griffites, and now Cynogor is taking an engagement against the Demigryphs. Gorbel and the Cockatrice all going after Boris now. Cockatrice needs to get over here to kill Boris. You get a good terror route going down the Swordsman, but the Cockatrice actually breaks. Brutal situation for the Beastmen. They could have killed Boris here. He's been locked down for a hot minute. That Petrifying Gaze slowed him up. Now he's just kind of sitting here. Definitely need to get him active and up in the air. Melkor noticing finally, barely gets him out before he breaks. If he had broken, then Malagor could have probably chased him off the field. But he's going to get back up in the air. Centaurs are posted up, but... Okay, this is where you don't want to be overly cautious with your Centis. You actually got a fair few. You want to countercharge those Griffites. Yeah, and hammer down the, hammer down this infantry that's, like, occupied on your Zangors. The Zangors have been doing pretty well. How much value do they all have? That's Halberdiers. 522 value here. 274, not bad. The Huntsmen are shooting you up pretty good right now. As well as these archers, man. Wow, dude. Good stuff coming in from Melkor currently with the archer play. The Beastmen have the advantage that they're looking for, actually. They did overplay their hand just a little bit, but their infantry have held in nicely enough that they've cleaned up most of the melee troops. Like, you can see all the state troopers are running off the field right now. Actually got a rallying Zangor back here. Watch for rallying units as the Beastmen. You can get some sneaky stuff going with your rallying troops. A lot of them have stealth. Like, if Ungor Spear Herd, like, routes, and then your opponent just forgets about it and is like, oh, it's just trash, it's gonna rout off the field. Sometimes they'll rally and they'll be back in stealth, and you can, like, send them up into the back line and immediately get on top of missile troops, which is nice. Sentis hammering down some of the infantry, but a little too long spent in these combats, and they take a bunch of unnecessary damage. And then the focus fire from the Huntsmen and the archers is really starting to shoot them up pretty badly. I do believe the Gorbel died. The Royal or the regular old Griffites. It's the halberds here. I'm fairly certain killed the Gorbel. Somewhere over here. A lot of dead Demigryphs. Maybe he routed out. Not 100% sure. Oh, here he is. Yeah, he's very messed up. Just one of them against Empire is fine. I actually really do like double Gorbel sometimes. Just depending on what kinds of player I'm going into. But this is also, in my opinion, a perfectly acceptable matchup for double Wargore. Foot Wargores are pretty vicious, guys. Like, they're really good at getting up into your opponent's spears and halberds, breaking the bracing while also still doing some pretty respectable damage. What you can then do is follow up with a chariot to bust through the middle of your opponent's formation, and again have the chariot just immediately rampaging through your opponent's back line. And the Wargors on foot are kind of hard to shoot to death. They're very resilient to missile fire because they have a silver shield. Not a lot is going to be threatening them oftentimes. And you can then either use them to ground out value on points by killing enemy infantry that are engaged there. Or you can use the Wargors to push up into the backline and chase down enemy foot characters. Like this Bright Wizard would be a perfect target for the Wargors to go after. They're way faster than him. I believe they have 46 foot speed. Maybe they have 42, but regardless, they're faster than the Bright Wizard, and they have way better combat stats. If they catch this Bright Wizard, double Wargor will kill him in about 30 seconds. And they're surprisingly resilient to characters like Boris. If Boris were to land in trying to help kill the Wargors and save the Bright Wizard, that's when you can bring Malagor down to the ground to get the 3v1. Pop Enfeebling Foe on Boris and nerf his stats, while you can maybe use the Cockatrice as well to land in there and get some good damage. See, all the Centaurs are having some trouble now. Routing, a lot of them just really not doing too well. Melkor with a big value lead at this point in the game. Like I said, Beastmen could have been a little better off if they were a little bit more patient in the early game. Like, they had the Vanguard advantage. Like, they just get up here and cap the 2 low ground objectives. And what they can do is then pull back their front line a little bit. And force the Empire a little bit farther in. And if the Empire doesn't go for the #1 objective, and they just want to swarm with a majority of their units on the low ground here, what you can do is kind of like shift your formation across the field. Like get your units that capped the #3 and kind of shift them over. Cover ground behind the #2 and see if you can pull the Empire onto this objective, while you rotate with more of your forces to go for like a flank overload to just like completely overwhelm the backline of the Empire, because you can push your Ungor Spear Herd around entire enemy flanks and they'd never know because of the stalk that the Ungor Spears have. Ungor Spears are really good at back pressure. They are decently strong in melee combat because they have 25 melee attack. Their weapon strength is a little low, but they'll beat something like a Huntsman. Huntsmen are way worse in melee combat than the Ungor Herd are. Ungor Spear Herd have 30 melee defense, which really isn't that bad for a chaff unit. For 375 gold, I'll take that any day of the week. Beautiful burning heads this game. They have gotten a lot of damage done. They could be a little stronger, but enough for what the Empire needs to do here. And look at the focus fire. Still, just all of the archers getting to use their ammunition. Pretty much every single volley used up by the Empire. Can't let that happen as the Beastmen. The Beastmen are so weak to missiles like this. This is how you overwhelm the Beastmen with missiles. You don't want to bring like 1 or 2 elite missile units. You want to bring a bazillion chaff pieces who can just pile on the weight of fire, because Beastmen have very low armor across the board. They've got like a handful of units that even make it over 60 armor. You know, or even over 50. Like, Zangors have 50 armor, and the only units that have better armor than that are the Sons of Goros, Khorngors, Bestigor Herd, Razorgor Chariots, and Tuskgor Chariots. And that's literally it. Everything else has got less than 50 armor. It's pretty nuts. I'm trying to think of anything else that might have more than that, and I just can't. So, low AP missiles and Burning Head are just devastating to the Beastmen infantry as well as their mobility even, because, you know, Centaurs are out here with only 35. They can get folded up by good counter charges. They do pile into the Free Company militia here, but we've got the Empire Knights right on their heels. Boris hasn't gotten a lot of value, but he hasn't needed to. He's gotten a lot of terror routes. You can see this Centaur's terror routing there, that have been pretty invaluable. This is another thing that you can do to punish the Beastmen. Just because they have Primal Fury and their ITP for, you know, like a decent portion of the opening segments of games and engagements, doesn't mean that terror is useless, because it's usually going to be proccing before these Centaurs are below like half HP. So if it's proccing around like half health on a Centaur and you get a terror out on them and then you can chase them off immediately, that is a massive win, because Centaurs are very dangerous even on low HP because of how efficient they are on the charge. Anytime you can break the Centaurs early is going to be a game-winning situation for you. And that was very well done. Did a really good job of picking apart this Beastman army. The Ungor Raiders were okay. They didn't get great value. I think a lot of this was that the Beastman Infantry Corps, there was a lot of blobbing of it. And you don't really want to blob with your infantry as the Beastmen. What you want to do with your infantry as the Beastmen against lines like what the Empire has here is you want to like pull your spearmen back and away from the initial engagement. You want to send your Zangors in first, actually. The Zangors can just run over Empire State troops. And it's a very favorable fight for the Zangors. They can get a lot of value that way. And when you pull back your spear herd, you can actually cause your opponent to funnel their infantry 2 at a time into one Zangor. And then you can use your spear herd to push back out, but you push around the fight that the Zangors are taking, right? And then you can get up in your opponent's backline with your spear herd. And then your opponent can't really charge these guys down with cavalry because they're fairly stalwart for such a cheap unit, and they can poke back against the cavalry. And if they don't disengage their missile troops, the Ungor spear herd can actually beat the missiles as well. Then you use the Ungor Raiders to creep forward, and they just shoot down whatever isn't engaged in melee combat. Like any of the huntsmen they can shoot, any of these Free Company militia and archers they can hit. And then the Razorgore Chariot kind of goes in and does its job by doing something very similar. You know, it pushes up into the back line and then tries to run down all these missile units. Then you'd bring out the Centaurs behind that. Razorgore herds as well. I would save the money on the Cockatrice for the late game. I don't think you really need to go for a snipe on Boris. You do your very best to just work around him. Just having one Gorbel is enough to handle him. Just use the Gorbel to mirror wherever Boris is going, while Malagor can fly up into the back line and be an annoying flying unit, man. These flying infantry lords are pretty hard to kill. Especially Malagor, who's exceptionally fast. He's got 121 speed. Literally nothing can catch him in the air. It is impossible. He is so nice to have. But yeah, that's going to be it for this one, guys. I'm going to be ending stream now. I appreciate y'all coming by and checking it out. Oh, and let me answer your questions before I go. You know what, Empire? Just for you, I'll cast that for a separate video. I'm too gassed to do it right now, unfortunately. I've been doing way too much today. I've tried to get as many of these replays done as possible, though. But I'll do my very best tonight to cast it before the patch drops and it ruins all the replays. Empire versus Chorfs. Empire versus Chorfs is kind of tricky for the Empire. You can get boxed out pretty badly by the Chowie, because their infantry are really tough to break down as the Empire. Yeah, the free units are great, dude. It's awesome to see, like the Nanocal Grenades were cool, the Orc Boy Spears were a good addition. The Blood Knights with the swords are going to be super cool. I don't know how good they're going to be. I actually don't think they really fill a niche for the Vampire counts, but it's a fun unit regardless. Be really cool in campaign at least. The Hobgoblin Bolt Throwers might be super huge for the Chaos Dwarves, because the one thing the Chaos Dwarves don't have is like a cheap artillery piece that they can use to shoot big monsters. Because, yeah, they can bring a Death Shriek, which is amazing, but that's an expensive artillery piece at 1,300 gold. If these Bolt Throwers are like 750, thereabouts, and you can just throw one out on the field against factions like the Beastmen, whose units are fairly quick, but also can get folded up by good anti-large bonus. I think that'd be really nice. And there's a few other matchups where I can see the Bolt Throwers being good. Like against Empire and shooting their war wagons would be pretty cool. Jade or Jet Lines get played in multiplayer. Not really. The Jade and Jet Lions, unfortunately, just don't do enough damage in melee combat. They don't have collision damage, and their items, or not their items, their little abilities are kind of terrible. Especially the Jet Lion. The Jade Lion is usable. The Jet Lion is absolute dog shit. It is unusable. I don't know why. I mean, it silences, which is cool, but it's also not fast enough, and it's ground-based, so if your opponent has a flying caster, they just ignore you. And if their caster is on the ground and has a horse, they're probably going to outrun it. And it's going to be hard for the Jet Lion to ever find an opportunity to engage. And what do you think about the Steam Tank NG Lord against the Beastmen? It's great. I mean, you can literally kill half the army with the Steam Tank Lord. But the thing about bringing the Steam Tank Lord against the Beastmen is that he's a huge investment. 2,900 gold, I'm pretty sure, is how much he costs. Let's go take a look real quick. Because there was a point in time where I was banning this dude. He's a little bit less broken nowadays. So, he's not so abusive. But he's still really crazy. 2,900 gold. I mean, a third of your army value initially. He can carry a game for you, but he can only be in, like, so many places at once. And the Steam Tank is pretty slow with only 40 speed. A good Beastman player is just going to ignore the Master Engineer and kill the rest of your army. And they'll try and run away with their infantry. Because Beastman infantry, like I said, are some of the fastest in the game across the board. They're actually fast enough to be able to stay at pace the Master Engineer. He's got 40 speed. These guys with Primal Fury have 42. Right? So a good Beastman player is going to see your Steam Tank Commander like running for an infantry corps. And they'll just pack up and start running away from you while they develop out all their Senties and Razorgore Herd and just like flatten all your knights and infantry who are at a numbers disadvantage because you went so heavy into one character. I mean, Boris is a commitment at 2,100, but that 800 gold is all the difference in the world because it means you get your caster out. In the process, you know. 500 gold. I think the engineer is just that little bit too expensive. But you could probably use him and beat plenty of Beastman players with him. Just constantly be microing this guy around. And if your opponent ever blobs up on him with something trying to kill him, just drop a Pigeon Bomb on it. I mean, Pigeon Bombs is such a stupidly powerful item. It does crazy damage. It one-shots Centaurs. It even does okay damage to stuff like Minotaurs. If you get caught by a Minotaur, you're in trouble, but you can always bring a healer. And I think Life Magic with the Steam Tank is actually pretty crazy. Because this guy's 9,000 HP. You can just bring Earthblood and have your Jade Wizard like cast it on your Master Engineer all game, and you'll get some situational heals on other units, as well as the lore passive, which is also going to heal everything in the army. And that can really add up. It's pretty nice. Life Magic in general against the Beastmen is kind of bad, though, because Beastmen win decisive engagements anyways. So it's like it's a little bit of a give and take. You'd only bring the Life Caster if you're bringing the Steam Tank. If you're bringing any other Lord, then you probably just want the Burning Head and maybe Melkoths, because you can do double Wizard against Beastmen. It's not a bad idea. Just bring the Power Stone, keep him on foot. And you can, you know, start off with Shadows Caster or something, with like Melkoths. You just run around and be annoying with the magic. That's my 2 cents on it. So, yeah, I'll try and cast your Kislev versus Wood Elves games for you. Maybe the new patch won't break the replays, but some of those changes make me think that all the replays that I do have are probably going to be busted. I'd love to be able to do more, but I just don't have the energy today. Got through a fair number of them, though. I really don't have that many left in here. Next week, hopefully, I'll have, you know, plenty of time to be able to get through them all. It's been kind of cool, though, that at the very least, we're getting more patches, which is pretty huge. They've been few and far between at various points in time, which has been a little annoying. Them being more consistent now, they've dropped balance patches every, like, 3 to 4 months, it seems, which is way better than every half year. And then on top of all of that, we get some new goodies pretty consistently. So, big thanks to CA. They finally figured out that this is kind of their cash cow that they should stick with. They're really good at making this game when they want to make this game. I don't know what made them want to make a Battle Royale shooter. It just tickles me so much that they wanted to make Hyenas. I don't know what they were thinking, man. But look, that's a whole can of worms to open up. I appreciate you guys checking out the stream, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Till then, peace out, guys.